sites, and they weren't showing it all to the IAEA,
Yeah, of
right? So
course.
that's kind of
Well, here's the
so
thing.
if they had sites no one knew about, then he is actually right here. But I don't think that they had sites
Well,
that
let's
no one
assume
knew
they
about.
did
I
have
think they were
sites.
being transparent.
Let's assume they did have sites, right? Let's not forget, guys, that if we go back in time a little bit, the nuclear deal was done in 2015. 3 years later, Trump ripped it up, right? It's 2025 now.
Good
I would
point.
not be surprised because they actually, everyone in the international community vouches for this, by the way. During those 3 years, during the nuclear deal process, Iran was to the T. They were doing what they were supposed to do because they wanted the sanctions lifted, right? That was the big thing. They wanted the sanctions lifted. They were tired of their fucking money, with inflation, etc. But once Trump came in, ripped up the deal, and then on top of that, Mike Pompeo putting them on the foreign terrorist list as the Secretary of State, I would argue I would not be surprised if during that period they started to build out other facilities. They started to realize, like, well, we can't trust the JCPOA or whatever, and kind of made this as a, how do I say this, like almost as a last resort. Again, I'm not justifying their actions. I'm simply saying, I'm kind of spitballing here what I think probably happened after the nuclear deal was ripped up in 2018. I would not be surprised if they went ahead and made a contingency plan. Like, clearly we can't trust the West. They don't stick to their word. We need to go ahead and have some type of alternative here as a last, like a panic button in case they do go ahead and go crazy with us. So that's kind of my thing. And the reason why I believe that is
My
because they already have this system set up in place for their ballistic missile program, and that's obviously very coveted to them. Their nuclear program is too. So I would not be surprised if they didn't replicate that strategy in Iran. Sorry, with their nuclear program. Excuse me. Go ahead.
Good answer.
Myron,
I
are you
think.
aware of the Millennium Challenge exercise that was carried out in the US over the course of over 2 years and $250 million was spent? It was overseen by 1,200 US servicemen and plus generals as well. It was a strategy to invade Iran to see if they could be successful at it. It was right around the time they were looking to invade Iraq as well. They wanted to invade Iran first. So what they discovered very quickly within 24 hours of the exercise, which also included a blitz, by the way, so send in your best fighter, just go for it, strike their targets. Again, this was over 20 years ago. What they discovered immediately is they would lose in every single battle scenario, including with the Navy fleet that currently existed then. To ask you the simple question: Is Iran grown stronger since 2002 or weaker? And given that the U.S. lost every single strategic battle within 24 hours, what chance do you think they have now? Given that Iran's probably 10 times stronger than what it was.
Yeah, no, and that's what leads me to believe that this was a monumental failure because so even if we go off the premise, let's go off the premise that they destroyed their fucking nuclear capability. Let's assume like they're done, they're cooked, they don't even got scientists anymore. Let's assume the absolute worst case scenario for Iran. They lost everything, right? Well, unless you're going to go into Iran and kill Khamenei himself and get rid of the entire regime and disband the IRGC, like they're still going to be there and they can rebuild, right? This isn't the first or last time they've had their capabilities diminished and then rebuild over years. So the more I think about this and the more I try to split it, I don't really see a W here. The only way that I can even think in my mind that this would be a W is this is just one big elaborate fucking commercial for the international community to, number one, see our capability, number two, sell our B-2 bombers or our weapons, and kind of go from there. Because during the press conference, and I don't know if you guys watched it earlier with Pete Hegseth, they made a point to kind of show their capability, how they got into airspace undetected, how they're able to get in and out quickly. Like, it was damn near like an infomercial if you watch it back. So, because I'm really trying to find out what fucking benefit did we get from this. And to me, it looks like the only benefit I could think is it's a fucking expensive ass commercial for American military equipment. Like, this is fucking crazy to me.
And
Myron,
Myron,
Well, the benefit they
Myron,
could have got was that they dumped Israel off their back. They gave them a symbolic hollow victory, and they've actually fucked Israel over with this because now Iran can go harder at them with no strategic loss to their nuclear program.
and they don't have the power of
Actually, I'll make a
sanctions.
distinction. I'll make a distinction.
And they don't have the power of sanctions here. That's the thing. The BRICS partnership was when Iran joined. There is an economic model that allows it to make sanctions irrelevant, and that is what China, Russia, and BRICS. The goal was to achieve that economic activity can continue, economies can strengthen without the dollar, and they can make sanctions irrelevant. That was the goal. Mission achieved, mission accomplished, and so you can't even have the same economic impact anymore.
The goal, I think, is
I'll
to.
make a
Can
distinction though.
I say
Hold on,
something?
crypto.
I
No,
just
I was speaking. I'll make a distinction though. It wasn't for American military equipment because the B2 is not sold. So that it's kind of like a FOMO thing, right? They're saying we're the only ones that have this. That's what he kept saying, right? We're the only ones with this powerful.
Yep.
We're the only ones that could do this. We're the only ones with these bombers, and you can't get them. So be on your best behavior because we're also doubling down. Whatever the genocide that they want to conduct is not changing our position. They have a right to defend themselves, and we have a right to defend them. That's basically what they were saying.
And
And
remember,
we're going to use
well,
things that you can't even
and
counter.
remember, there is a sales goal to the American people that is trying to be achieved right now. It's called One Big Beautiful Bill. It requires, over $1 trillion stimulus. It's asking to increase the debt ceiling to over $5 trillion, and the vast majority of the print is to spend on military-industrial complex profits, as well as Palantir and surveillance state. So it all ties into, if you can show that you're able to that demonstration, whether the mission is successful or not, this all coincides with the sell of the stimulus of the big beautiful bill, which is a military bill primarily.
Well, if you look at the
Also on the cost, one point on the cost though, I'll guarantee you that these ordinances have to be replaced from time to time. So I can probably almost guarantee you that the ones that they dropped were probably ones that were kind of on the way out, and they're going to replace anyway. So
but you asked what the purpose of this whole thing was, Miles. What the purpose of this mission was? You got to go back to June. You,
months.
you got to go back to June 13th. Why America helped Israel do this? It's the same thing they did in Libya. The same thing they did in Iraq. Is to cause chaos. American foreign policy is about creating chaos, destruction of the regimes, and then siphon the natural resources of those countries. Right? Most Americans don't know. Right now, a barrel of oil in Libya costs $10 for the French to take out of Libya right now. So that whole attack on Gaddafi and killing him, and he's an autocrat, and he's the worst person ever. They killed him. They sodomized him in the street and killed him. And now a barrel, and you guys can look this up, a barrel of oil from Libya right now costs about $10 to $15. And that's what they want to do. That's what American foreign policy is: destroy these countries and then just take the resources on the cheap. That's what it is, and that's what they thought they're going to do with Iran too. Just didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, I see your perspective, but there's no way that they're going to be able to do it. So it's like, okay, let's go ahead and
No,
project our power.
their hubris was that they could do it, though. Their hubris was when you call other people Amalek, when you look at the Palestinians as subhuman, and they're Israelis, they're ethno supremacist outposts in the Middle East. They're basically Europeans that came in. They're not indigenous to those people. 70% of those people that live in Israel, the quote unquote Israelites, are allergic to olive tree pollen. How's that possible if you're really from that land? Not 70% of our, you cannot do genetic testing if you're an Israeli in Israel because they don't have Semitic blood. The real Semites, that's the whole funny thing is the anti-Semitism they talk about, the Palestinians are Semites. So anytime anyone says anything about against the Palestinians, it should be anti-Semitic.
Yeah, we know this. We know all
Yeah,
this. We know
I know,
Yeah,
this.
but
no,
but
bro. We
but
all agree with you, bro. Trust me. Like we've talked about this ad nauseum. I don't know if you're new to the space. Like, yeah, bro. I've said it a million times that the majority of Israel is Ashkenazi Jews,
Well, no,
which
no,
is
but you're saying
literally
why they do this
Europeans.
because they're hubris. They went in there. They thought they're going to knock him out. We're going to go and do regime change, just like they did with the Shah, when they brought the father. That was the first CIA operation. Was when they took out Mossadegh and they brought the father's son, the father of the Shah into power. So that's what their hubris is. They think they're going to knock these people out.
Just a question, if anyone knows, just a little bit, move this along a little. Does anyone know what the depth of the earthquakes were? Because then that would probably clarify whether it was a test or just something natural, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was some talks. We discussed this like 2 days ago that there might be some nuclear testing being conducted by. Oh, actually, I'm glad that you're in here.
The depth of the
Yeah,
depth of
you
the
know what?
earthquake.
I'm
They
actually
know.
glad that you're in here because you're a science guy. Yeah, a couple days ago, we heard that there were earthquakes in Iran. A couple of this past last week, and some people were speculating that might have been nuclear testing. And the other thing that made them think that is because there were the earthquakes, if I'm not mistaken, came from the southern region, kind of closer to the border of Pakistan. And from what people had said, that region is also where Pakistan did their nuclear testing. So that led some to believe, is Iran doing a nuclear test? We don't know, but yeah, I don't know if anyone's confirmed that or anything. But you know, the more I think about this, dude, I wouldn't be surprised if Iran had a nuke somewhere, dude. I wouldn't be surprised, man. I honestly, this is the more I look at this operation, the way that we did it, I don't see any strategic benefit to what the fuck we did, dude. I really don't, man.
Well, could you? I'm not by a computer. In Macau, but uh, so I gotta go soon. But could you look up the depth of the earthquakes?
The
Because I
last
really
one
do think
was
that's important.
13 kilometers below the earth. I don't know why you can't do your own homework, man. The other
I
one,
just told you I'm not by a
there were
computer.
three. Yeah, you can do it on your smartphone. Did you know that? You can mess around on here. You can also use AI on your smartphone, but you just don't want to do the work because you're lazy, making excuses.
I'm lazy. Okay.
Yeah,
The fuck?
go fuck around at whatever bathhouse or brothel you're going to in Macau, or go gamble. It's fine. You're not a serious person anyway.
Okay, I'm gonna go explore the city.
All right, man.
What do you think's in Macau? It's the gambling mecca of Asia. What are you there for?
I'm there for a day. I was in Hong Kong.
All right.
Hey, have
Anyway,
fun, man. There's a lot to see there.
let's move forward, guys. What the hell's
Yeah,
going on
what
with
the
Tel
fuck is
Aviv?
this like
What's
attack?
going on with Tel Aviv, guys? I know yesterday, shortly after the U.S. strikes, Tel Aviv started getting missiles rained down on them. We saw strikes in several places all across Israel. Are the attacks still happening, or what's the latest with that?
No, there's a pause in
We just got
hostilities,
some.
but Iran has said that I think the focus now is to shut down the Strait of Hormuz. They might be making plans for that. They'll carry on with the attacks on Israel. They've said they will. But again, they're going to maintain unpredictability. They're not going to tell you when or what they're going to strike this time. They struck over 150 sites successfully. That was like 2 days ago. It's more than that now. It's difficult to ascertain exactly what they've done now because there's a media blackout in Israel and they're hiding their losses. They've hit all the strategic ports now. They've of course hit all the air bases. Negev, Ramon, Nevatim, etc. We've already talked about striking down the fighter jets. They struck the refinery in Haifa as well. And they've struck a lot of residential buildings too that house terrorists and maybe some other weapons. Who knows? I mean, Israel, as we know, militarizes their hospitals. And they also struck the Mossad headquarters, the IDF headquarters, maybe the Shin Bet headquarters too. We don't know because we only learn about
Looks
one
like,
or two out of 7 sites that get struck.
Looks like Marco Rubio is going live in about an hour, guys. Or the video is going to drop at least. This says the game is up. Rubio says Iran's days of playing the world are over, which is kind of comical.
Lindsey Graham said something very ominous. He said, Israel will not tolerate this regime for long.
Right, it's Israel's call. They're in the driver's seat. They call the shots, just like they thought that they would incite, a regime change by day 2. And Netanyahu sent his message out. They still want to put this homosexual Shah's son, on the throne, thinking Iran wants a constitutional monarchy. I mean, it's just a bunch of gibberish. The guy's been coping for more than 4.5 decades now, wanting to take the mantle, and hasn't
Why?
happened.
Someone needs to really press Netanyahu. He needs to send his fucking son from Miami directly to Gaza and go fight over there. These
Anyway,
guys
yeah,
have no
no,
skin in the game.
Is
I
Ivy?
think,
Is that
I
going to
think,
be a game changer if he shows up? What for?
yeah.
I think
Look,
because
the goal
they
is
have no skin in the game. They always just send everyone else's kids. Like just like Andrew Tate said about Ben
Well,
Shapiro.
is
The
Baron
guy's
Trump
sitting in his
is
fucking
Baron
booster
Trump going to
chair.
get
The guy's
conscripted?
sitting in his booster chair,
Yeah,
Ben Shapiro,
sure.
telling everyone,
Ivy,
go
is
go
Trump going to
fight for
send
me,
Baron
go fight
Trump
for
to,
Israel.
to war if they decide to declare war against Iran? Like, does it
Of
work any
course not, but
different
I'm
in
saying
America?
that
Of course not. So the elites never
he
send their
should
kids.
have to.
They should, but they
He
don't.
should have to.
Because it's only
He
poor
should have
people
to.
end up sending their kids over, and usually from minorities, because
Exactly.
they're
And that's why
expendable.
they don't care. That's why they don't care.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like if you're a politician who wants to go to war, like your kid should go to war too,
100%.
because other people shouldn't lose their kids to war, and then you get to sit pretty in your little mansion because you've been Israel's good slave. I absolutely agree with that.
but
Guys, we do got some breaking news right now. A little bit of breaking news. We got the State Department saying Americans in Iran should shelter in place, no evacuation plan. So it's funny how there's no evacuation plans for dual citizen Iranians who are also American, but they evacuated those dual citizen Israelis right away within hours. So there's a double standard that's showcased right there, guys. They're picking those Israelis up, but they're leaving the Iranian Americans in the trenches. So there's that double standard again. Once again, if you are not a Jewish American or Israeli American, you get left in the dirt. Okay, and then we got more news. We got a Russian, I think, minister saying Trump can forget about the Nobel Peace Prize. Former Russian President Dmitry dismisses the U.S. strikes on Iran as a strategic flop, warning that nuclear work in Iran will press on and allies may now openly supply warheads, which we've heard that too. We heard that earlier that Russia is looking to supply Iran with some warheads, some nuclear warheads, which is massive. And then in other news, we got
Wolfie,
Rubio. No one saw them
did
coming.
Russia say
Yeah.
that or North Korea? Or did they both say? Because I saw a report that said
Oh,
North
sorry. I
Korea
think it was North Korea. My
could
fault.
supply nukes. Doesn't mean they will. They said they could.
Right, right. Right, my fault. I think it was North Korea that said they could do it. Yeah, thanks for that correction. And then with the last piece of news that's out right now is we got JD Vance talking about silent strike shows strength of the Trump team. So it looks like they are just advertising the B-2s, the bombers, and just making it seem like it's an untouchable um, asset that America has and gives to Israel. And then we got on other news, we got Bitcoin just cracked 100K. Remember what I said last night? If it cracks 100K and falls with momentum, it's donezo at least in the short to midterm. So that's interesting as well. Go ahead, Simon. You want to comment?
Yeah, so I was just going to say, it appears like the strategy right now is that I think it would be a big mistake to do anything with the Strait of Hormuz. I think the aim of the game is to weaken Israel, continually targeting, destroy infrastructure, vassalize the state, make it weaker, target any illegal settlements, make sure any illegal settlements look like Gaza, and just set the playing field. And anything that escalates this towards any type of involvement from either regional players or international players, I think they recognize that that's not the aim of the game. And it looks like what we will get is, if we get more of the same, it will be Iran strategically targeting Israel, and then we get an announcement, more games from the US. That leads to a bit of a theatrical performance, and then after that theatrical performance, they have permission to essentially go more aggressive on Israel. So it looks like this is the strategic weakening of Israel. The chances of some kind of internal regime change stroke colored revolution. The longer this goes on for, it looks like the Iranians are becoming more solidified against any type of existential threat, any internal politics, internal beef. Those that really dislike IRGC, I think they dislike the thought of their country being bombed by Israel significantly greater. So it looks like, other than the fifth column and propaganda artists, so it looks Thomas, like who's going to about to give us some more Netanyahu Mossad propaganda. It seems like those safe in America are the ones that seem to be pushing some kind of regime change agenda, and looking to bring back the son of the Shah. And it looks like we've got to be careful of those types of narratives, because regime change is essentially a movement towards Libya 2.0, which won't happen, is not going to happen in the case of Iran. It's the probability of that happening. And anybody advocating for that, should really look at the result of these colored revolutions and of these regime changes, and the significant destruction, death, and crimes against humanity that inevitably, predictably end up the result of overthrowing a government when there is a hostile act from Western forces. That's like writing your death wish, inflicting death upon all of your people, and really engaging in an act of delusion, because Thomas is about to give us some propaganda that he's read directly from the Netanyahu script. Thomas, why don't you tell us what Netanyahu wants you to say?
I think you guys cracked me the fuck up. I don't even really know where to begin, but I'll begin by saying this. First of all, I don't want anybody in Iran to die. It bothers me to no end that we have to come to blows to resolve some of these issues. That is why I made the regime and the Iranian people. Now, whether or not regime change will happen, I don't know. Okay? I don't know. But I do know this. We cannot trust Iran with a nuclear weapon. That has to be prevented at all costs. Absolutely has to be prevented.
Can you trust
Their power
Israel with a nuclear
projection
weapon?
capability.
Can you trust Israel with a nuclear weapon?
But here's the problem too,
I,
Hey
Thomas.
Thomas,
I,
what email list do we have to
why
be on
am I
to
being
get
interrupted
that?
again? I waited like an hour to talk, and then you guys interrupt me
Okay, but
again.
let's let
But
him
Thomas,
finish
And
though.
I
I'm
got a
gonna drop
question for
out.
you. It's a back
Listen,
and forth. What email list do
Sorry,
we have
what's
to
that?
be
You
on
waited
to
6
get
million
these?
hours to speak? What was
Hey,
that?
Sharif, I got it. Thomas, can you tell me what email list do we have to be on to get like the talking points, the all the Congress members?
this is asinine, guys. This is a waste of your breath. Like I'm a public figure. You can
Bro,
see
you
who
are
I
king,
am. I'm
bro.
Thomas,
No
all
one
over the
knows who
fucking
you are,
internet.
with
bro.
your
Listen,
2,000
no one
followers.
knows who you are, man. Okay, enough about you're a public figure this, you're a public figure that. You're either gonna directly answer the question or you're gonna get booted, bro, because you keep saying you're this, you're that, I'm this, I'm this. Bro, we told you 100,000 times, right? We told you 6 million times, right? That we don't want to hear about who you are or what you do. We are about substance. We're about argument. We're about logic. You need to make sense. You know what's asinine? The fact that America is doing Israel's dirty work, the fact that Israel attacked Iran first, has plans to attack America next. You're talking about you don't want Iran with nukes? Does Iran have a Samson option like Israel does? And did their documents get exposed like Israel's documents got exposed? That if we don't help them enough, that they're gonna nuke us harder if we don't give them another $33 trillion or $34 trillion? Does Iran have that gig, or is that Israel that has that gig? So when people like you in America, Thomas, talk the way that you talk, you guys don't realize that you're decimating America. You're destroying America, literally, because you're backing the Israeli agenda, not the American first agenda. You're backing the Jews who probably own you, the Israelis, to be more specific, right? Not just the Jews, but the Israeli ones who are pro-Israel. You're backing them. You're backing them completely. You're talking like them. You keep talking like you're Thomas Massey. You're not Thomas Massey. You're this Thomas A. Speciale guy. I don't know how to pronounce your last name, right? But this is who you are, right? So no one knows who you are. Please stick to the argument, or you're gonna have to get booted because we got about 50 people requesting right now, like minimum right now. We got like 50 people behind you. So answer Simon's back and forth. If someone like Simon wants to cut you off, he's a co-host. He wants to go back and forth, have a conversation with you. That's fine to do as well, okay? And for those who got their hands raised right now, you must retweet, repost the space, okay, to get access to the stage. Otherwise, you'll get booted. All right, now let's go back. So let's go back to Simon. Simon, go ahead and ask your question to Thomas.
Okay, yeah, we'll do a bit more comedy and then we'll get back to a serious conversation. But Thomas, have you ever studied the history of regime change and the impact that it actually has when US is putting aggression on you? You execute a regime change. Have you ever seen the sheer economic death, destruction, and the impact that it has? Have you studied history?
Yes, and I've lived it
Okay, so why would you inflict that upon the Iranian people?
because the Iranian people preach death to America and death to Israel.
So you're saying that because the Iranian people teach, so you want to go against Iran. You're not looking after the Iranian people. You have a beef with Iran and you would like to go to war with Iran. Is that correct? Because they believe in death to America.
No, the regime believes that. The Iranian people don't believe that.
Okay, so have you seen what happens when you overthrow a regime? Have you looked at the different case studies? Why would you want to inflict that upon the Iranian people?
I don't. But if they would stop saying death to America, then they wouldn't get their regime changed.
Okay, so you believe in collective
Simon, can
We're
you
light
punishment.
inject?
years ahead of this guy.
Wait a minute, can
Simon,
I
can
just
you
say one
inject
thing?
the
You want
point
to
about
kill
the?
people over a chance. You want to bum people over a chance. You're a fucking
Yeah, okay.
chimp.
Adam, one sec. Do you want to inject the point about how there was an 8-year war between Iran and Iraq where the U.S. supported Iraq and 1 million Iranians got killed? And there was use of chemical weapons that was provided by the U.S., which was used numerous times by Saddam Hussein on Iranian civilians. It's funny how you leave that part out. Why is that? Why not? Why not also present the fact that, well, maybe some Iranians have beef with America because you interfere with their politics. You've overthrown their government before in 1953 through Operation Ajax. You did it again, and well, you tried to install someone else in 1979. That failed. You got rid of the Shah because you didn't like what he was saying about the U.S. media and all the other things he was saying, and also calling out the Jewish problem. So you took him out. You installed the guy you thought was
I
going to be
don't I
Gandhi.
don't deny
He
any of
spit in
that.
the face
I
of
don't deny
America.
any of that.
Just be quiet. Just be quiet. So yeah, maybe they're not going to like you for that. Maybe they're going to hate your guts because you killed their relatives. You gassed their relatives. You think that's okay? So you're for the American people, you're for the Iranian people, but you had no problem seeing 1 million Iranis just perish because of a
Bro, we
U.S.
fund all this
instigated
shit.
CIA agent that was installed within Saddam Hussein. They got the green light to go and invade Iran, invade Khuzestan of all places, which has an Arab population and lots of oil. You think that was just a coincidence, or maybe the U.S. instigated that illegal invasion?
But that's okay to Thomas, because Thomas is probably in America with a cushy job with some Mossad CIA operative. And it's okay. We can just sacrifice the Iranian people. And he gets to virtual signal and sound like he's trying to do what's right for the Iranian people,
Also,
despite
what's
the fact
really
that
cringy
anybody that has
is
studied history knows the impact, the death, the destruction of what happens when you advocate for a colored revolution and a regime change within that country. You are writing a death sentence for the Iranian people, and you are cheerleading it along, pretending that you care about the Iranian people. Well done for doing Benjamin Netanyahu's work, and well done for being a useful idiot for the military industrial complex. Guess what? They're going to create a shit ton of inflation for you, and your children are going to be deeper and deeper into debt, all because you decided to work for a terrorist regime called the CIA and Mossad, and work for that intelligence, thinking that you're protecting security when you were protecting the interest of banks and military terrorists.
it's also really cringy when you open up by saying that I'm a public figure, guys. Like just say what you believe in and contest with the argument. You know what I mean? Like no one knows who you are.
especially when no one knows who the fuck you
Yeah,
are.
no one knows who the fuck you are.
Oh, but his last name is
And
special. He
can
just
someone put
misspelled
their
it. He
hand up
just
if they know?
Simon. He misspelled special. It's just us that don't spell right. We're the
And
problem,
He's
please,
here,
like
not
the
him.
he's like the other side of Thomas Massey.
I
He's
think
Thomas
I think
special.
we should do a
He's the
poll.
anti-Thomas Massey.
I
There
think
you
we should
go.
do a poll. If
And I
Thomas
gotta say,
Massey,
I mean,
kryptonite that
he still
doesn't
didn't
work.
he still didn't respond to truth. He still didn't respond to truth. Look, we fund this shit, man. Like our leadership is cucked. Like, what are you fucking talking about?
Okay, should we push him down now and get to a serious conversation? Thomas,
Sure,
we'll give you
it's enough
Yeah,
entertainment.
we'll give you the
let's give him.
we'll give you the last
Yeah.
words, and then we're gonna push you
Yeah,
down.
we needed a little snack. We needed that McDonald's drive-through on the long drive here.
Hey,
It was fine.
thanks guys for the space. I love participating in spaces where I'm the only sensible
Sure,
voice
faggot.
in the room. I really
You're
liked
the only
You want to
really
Myron.
kill
efficient
people
Keep
in the
over
up,
a
room.
keep
taunt. You're
up
not fucking sensible.
keep up the good work, fighting the false narratives and the false propaganda. And freedom. I'll fight for freedom around the world every day. I've done it before, and
You
I'll
want
do
to
it
kill
again.
people over what?
And
Fight for
Over
freedom in
the
America.
Iranian people deserve to be free from the tyranny of the Iranian regime.
I think the whole world deserves to be free from the tyranny of the Israeli Jewish supremacist Zionist regime.
Okay, all right. Well, we're done with that comedy. So, for those of you that don't know, Thomas is the only intelligent
That's
person.
crazy.
Thomas is the only intelligent person in the room because he works for intelligence. In fact, I don't even think he works for intelligence. He's just a useful idiot for intelligence and doesn't even get paid by them. But he needs to tell you that he is the most intelligent person in the room. And everybody should know him, and he's a public figure because nobody knows
He's a
who he
public
is.
figure, Simon. He's a public figure.
Okay, all good. Let's move forward. So, who wants to go next? Let's bring in some new voices. What have we got? Mofit, do you want to reset the room and then call some people up?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Those who are tuned in, we got some live breaking news that just broke out. Iran is going to shut the Strait of Hormuz, and it's because the Zionist entity attacked it last night. We covered that. 20,000 people deep was in this space. It was a crazy night. And we're basically covering the updates that is going on. We've gotten recent updates with more clowns, very similar to Thomas Special, who was on here. I almost said Thomas Massey, my bad. That's the only Thomas we really know out here, the only true public figure. But, we got a lot of the politicians saying basically the same bullcrap you guys heard the other Thomas saying on the stage. Now we got Trump saying we got Russia coming out, we got North Korea coming out. Basically, everyone's didn't agree with this. We got the fake news Zionist media coming out saying they've damaged Iran's nuclear hub and that they took the W. We got genocider Donald Trump talking about how he basically they basically did this operation where they bombed the Fordo nuclear facility and then they left with their B-2 bombers sitting pretty, according to him. But then we saw the response, and I think we're going to see an even bigger response with Iran very soon. I think it's going to happen. It's incoming. So stay tuned. Hit that repost button. We're also having discussions in the middle of the breaking news. Whenever it gets light, as you heard earlier, we do have discussions in between. If you got your hands raised, hit that repost button. Share the space as much as possible. And yeah, guys, let us know what you think. Right now, we have Rubio. The most recent news is Mark.
The guy who Iran predicts $300 a barrel. What I see that your name looks like it's in Russian, but what is it in English so I can respond to you? But you're right. The Iran war is costing Israel whatever it's costing them, and then who gets to pay for it, and that's the United States. So you're absolutely right. But let me know what your name is in English.
Hey, thanks for having me in the space. Nice to be here, and thanks for calling me up. I wanted to talk about what's going on with the Strait of Hormuz and give a bunch of background information. So first, what happened was, according to the news reports, that Iran's parliament voted to close the Strait of Hormuz, but actually meaningless because the parliament doesn't actually have any real power in Iran. The decision making is made by the executive. So it's kind of like in Russia and stuff. It doesn't really mean anything. So we'll see if it happens. I actually don't believe it's going to happen, and here's why. So if you look at the trade through the Strait of Hormuz, you look at who is sending out the trade and who's getting it. It's mostly, obviously, oil. The number one exporting country in the Strait of Hormuz is Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has a limited extent that it has a pipeline that goes east-west through its country where it can shift the shipping and the oil to the Red Sea instead of having it go through the Persian Gulf. But still massive volume and the biggest number one exporter through the Strait of Hormuz. Number two is Iraq. Number three is the UAE. And number four, and it's a bit smaller, is Kuwait. And then much smaller is Qatar. Iran is about the same as Kuwait in terms of volumes. It's a little bit higher. So when you close the Strait of Hormuz, who you're hurting on the exporting end is you're really pissing off Saudi Arabia, UAE, Iraq, Kuwait, and Qatar. All of those countries lose big. They will massively hate Iran. They will want Iran to be severely bombed. They will want to fight Iran because you are putting their money on the line.
They already hate Iran. They're already helping it get bombed. So
yeah, I know. So it's gonna kind of exaggerate that. I guess Saudi Arabia made some statements that they oppose the Israeli bombing, etc. But it's performative.
That's a bunch of bullshit. They support its destruction.
So then you look at the receiving countries, and this is where I think it really matters. So the number one receiving country by far of all this oil is China. Number 2, 3, and 4, which are the same volume as China, are India, South Korea, and Japan. And then when you look at, and then after that, it's just like all the other Asian countries combined are about the same volume as Japan or South Korea. And then the Europe and the United States actually get a tiny sliver, smaller than all the other countries by far. So who you're actually hurting the most is China and to some extent India, South Korea, and Japan. I don't think that the Iranians care about South Korea and Japan, but they absolutely care very, very much about China and to a lesser extent India. And they are not going to piss off the Chinese. They are not going to put the Chinese in a horrible economic shock by cutting off the Chinese fuel supply. And I think for that reason alone, there's no chance that Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz. Maybe they do it for like a few days or something. Nothing that's going to actually like disrupt the long-term Chinese oil imports. But if they do it in a way that is going to cause a cutoff or a disruption in the Chinese fuel supply, China's going to get on the phone really fast with Iran and tell them to knock it off or else, because Iran is definitely going to need China in the future to get its shit together to be able to defend its own airspace, because the Russian stuff that they have had so far has not been working for them. But the Chinese in Pakistani hands were able to shoot down some Indian jets. So I think they're probably going to want to be importing some things from China. So that's my take on it. Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you as well. And guys, I just saw something interesting right now too. From a journalist, Elijah, I follow him. He says if Iran postpones any retaliation to the U.S. declaration for several war declaration for several days, this could exhaust further the U.S. forces everywhere around the world. Then someone commented, I think they should keep focusing on Israel. Any retaliation against the U.S. can be of a different nature. And I agree with that, guys. I think Iran should focus on Israel because at the end of the day, the government doesn't care about the military. It doesn't care about the U.S. bases. If Iran attacks those, they'll just look at that as further excuse to continue supporting Israel. I think it would be okay to do, but it would be far more better to use it against what they really care about. And they really care about their golden calf, which is Israel. It cashes them out because they continue using that as an excuse to continue armaments, continue these deals, continue these bogus debt prints. So I think I agree with that as well. I agree, Manko, with what you were saying. I don't know if the shutting down the Straits wise because it could make a lot of enemies, but at the same time, Manko Smash, I think it's actually a wise thing to do because then it'll check everyone, including I believe Saudi Arabia, which would be affected by this probably the most.
Can I
I believe
respond
this would
to
check
what he
them
said?
right. Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, thanks. So it's not just the parliament that's agreed to want to shut down the Straits of Hormuz. It was also the Brigadier General Tangziri, commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard of the Navy, that said it's going to get shut down. The only person they answer to, the IRGC answers to, is the supreme leader, who's certainly not opposed to what the IRGC wants because they go along with most things that they want to do. So it's just a matter of time. And I agree with you. It won't be a long term play, maybe not even a midterm play. It's going to happen just to send a message to say, you struck us. These are the consequences. Because they've said they're going to do it, so they're going to follow through with it. Now, in terms of China, I don't know if you're aware, but you can transport oil by rail. China also has a 5 year reserve supply of oil. So they're not going to miss it for a few days. They're just fine, especially if they know that their partner in trade, Iran, that they invested $400 billion in, that they can also move things with rail and they don't have to worry about ships passing through. We'll continue to send oil if it needs it anytime it wants. Plus, Russia's next door. It's got contingency plans. You're not going to. China's not going to get mad if Iran's defending its territorial integrity because the U.S. decided to breach its sovereignty. Again, you grossly exaggerate, pissing off the Gulf states. No one cares about the Gulf states. In fact, they're targets right now. Their U.S. bases are targets. They represent, unfortunately, Israeli-U.S. imperialism in that region. They've already sold out their cucks, and they would love to see Iran get rug pulled and destroyed by Israel, except it's just not possible. So they're seething and upset, and just to placate their populations, they're putting out statements that they supposedly condemned the attack on Iran. No, they don't. They're all for it. They enabled it. Okay, they helped with it. Okay, Pakistan helped with it. Saudi helped with it. They help provide the intelligence. They go on surveillance missions to help Israel and the U.S. They picked a side. So nobody cares about pissing off the Gulf states, so much less Iran, because they know they're the enemy. They just keep their enemies a little close at times just to know what they're up to as well, because surveillance works both ways, especially with those treacherous Gulf states that like to host the Jewish populations, their populations of rabbis now, and continue to modernize to become a fully cuck state that spends its funds, its sovereign wealth funds, on U.S. corporations, on U.S. arms, and they continue to sell their oil, of course, in U.S. dollars, fully enabling the genocide in Palestine as a result of that, and also helping to breach the blockade that Yemen has imposed. Not just Iran that they have to worry about either. They also have to worry about Yemen. I think Hezbollah at some point will get reactivated because they're not going to stand by much longer. I don't think, in addition to the Palestinian resistance groups that are still around. It's just Syria that's suffered. And of course, there's the Iraqi resistance groups no one talks about. Kataib Hezbollah and Hashishabi are still legitimate forces to be reckoned with. And our militias, that's the Iraqi state army. Shias are actually the majority in that country. People get it mistaken. The Sunni supremacist ISIS Takfiri terrorist groups that are a problem there. That they've essentially, most of them been wiped out. They're still a minor problem. They're still around. They still kick around, but a lot of them have been wiped out, and a lot of them moved to Syria, where they now have a home base to operate from. So that's a bigger concern, more so than say those weak Gulf states that just are cucked and do as they're told. And of course, Egypt, Turkey, Jordan, etc. But just to add some perspective to it, they'll do it to send a message. It won't be long term. That much we can agree on. But in terms of who they're going to piss off and who they're also going to talk with in advance of doing it, yeah, their partners are going to be aware of it. It's to send a message. There's consequences when you strike us. We'll shut down 30% of the world's oil, or of the world's oil carriers to pass through and natural gas carriers to pass through. What are you going to do about it? And the U.S. will have to respond because that's escalation. Thank you.
Truth. What do you make of all the American officials, Rubio, JD Vance, etc., going on TV today and saying Iran will never do that because it'll be economic suicide for the country?
So I mean, it's amusing to me to hear stuff like that, because again, these countries have the mistaken belief that Iran's just a glorified gas station, as John McCain once put it. Because he knows nothing about the region, though he's visited so many times. He looks down on them and thinks that, or as Dick Cheney put it, back then, 2/3 of the world's oil supplies reside in the Middle East, and it's too valuable a resource to put in the hands of the Arabs. He probably doesn't know the difference between an Arab and a Persian or an Iranian anyway. But that aside, they're going to say what they want. There's always going to be cultural ignorance on their part. They don't know a lot of them aren't educated in the American system. I know, I've been through it. And so they're retards and they don't put the time in to understand it. Some of them do, a very small minority of them do. They get information from, of course, the diaspora to learn a little bit and they use them for translation. But beyond that, they continue to underestimate Iran, Russia, and China's capabilities. Now they're collectively collaborating. Why? Well, because of all the sanctions. You weaponize the dollar, and you sanction too many countries. Guess what? They're going to get together and collaborate against you. Couldn't see that coming though. But hey, you keep weaponizing the dollar. It's worked out so well. While you see BRICS countries now exceeding the G7 in terms of net GDP and control of capital. But hey, they can continue to underestimate, and you'll have these random U.S. politicians making the statements they do about they'll never do it. Just like Israel can never be destroyed, or they have this the aura of invincibility for Israel, must defend Israel at all costs. Where are they now? Why aren't they defending Israel? Why don't they have a plan to secure their favorite? You guys call it an outpost, but really it's the Jews controlling both. But even if you want to call it an outpost, what are they doing about their main outpost? Outpost is being decimated right now. About half of Tel Aviv is now wiped out. We'll never know the full extent of all the damage and all the casualties because there's a media blackout in Israel because they hide in shame, bow their head down in shame, while begging for help from the US, UK, Germany, France, and of course the Gulf states, those treacherous Gulf states that Iran doesn't care for, who wish Iran would get destroyed, but instead they're going to fear it and fear that it actually has a weapon and it could strike any one of them at any time, as they've proven in the past they can, like when Yemen successfully struck Aramco and has set it back and costed billions of dollars in repairs. They had to replace all their computer systems that were there, in addition to their oil output and refineries being offline for the short period of time it was. So they live in fear. Let them have sleepless nights. Thank you.
Absolutely. And for everyone tuned in right now, we got some breaking news. We have Iran calls U.S. out for bad faith double dealing. President of Iran just told India's PM that bombing Iran mid negotiation is the complete symbol of the groundlessness and emptiness of U.S. claims. He says, you say diplomacy, but send drones. The comment comes after Israel and U.S. forces basically bombed Iran's Isfahan nuclear site while talks were still on the table. So it goes to show how big of snakes the U.S. government and Israel is. Tehran's clearly not buying the we're here to talk routine. So going to be very difficult, guys, for the U.S. and the West to come to a deal after what they just did here. So that's the most recent breaking news on Iran's end. They're having massive trust issues now. And this is the problem when Israel's in charge. The problem is what happens after we free ourselves from Israel's ties is we're going to have to build trust worldwide with everyone because Israel's damaged the trust that America gets out of our country. So go ahead, Simon.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know you covered it earlier, but on the weekends, Bitcoin tends to act as a leading indicator for what the market will do. On the announcement of the Iranian parliament approving the close of the Strait of Hormuz, or the option to do it, so Bitcoin corrected about 5%, so it's broken the 100K psychological level. On the more speculative side, Ethereum, the second largest cryptocurrency, crashed 10%. So that's an indication that we're in for an interesting market on Monday upon this news. Now, remember, this is just the Parliament having the approval to use that option. It's not that the option's going to be used. If the option was going to be used, you'd expect a significantly bigger impact in markets.
May I continue?
Yeah, jump in.
Okay.
Who was
Thank you
that,
for
Strait?
giving me a chance. And just it's a quick question on my end. From what we heard, what Trump was saying yesterday, it appears like the mission is accomplished on a U.S. end, which is maybe like damaging the nuclear site. So that was their end goal, right? U.S. never said there is a regime change. That their goals for a regime change, they never said that. That's only Israel was saying that. So considering what Trump has said yesterday, which they accomplished their part, which is the U.S. part. In that case, if in case Iran didn't retaliate to U.S. side, there is no reason for U.S. going forward to move on or to participate in this. So it's just a quick question for you guys. Is that would be a case for Iran and Israel would be just by themselves, then US didn't have any cause or any reason afterwards after this, since they already claimed that they already obliterated the site. The reason I'm asking that was from what Netanyahu has said today. It appears like he mentioned we cannot call the whole thing as damaged, except severely damaging. We cannot call it out that it was fully non-functional. So he is implying that U.S. didn't finish the mission. So please continue. It appears as if like the U.S. to continue. On the other end, on the U.S. side, U.S. didn't say a regime change, and their only reason was for the nuclear site, and they already declared that they achieved that goal. So in that case, would fall only now. It is between Iran and Israel, not any involvement from the U.S. side.
I don't think we can make that assumption. I think Trump is, as always, he makes every statement so that no one knows what he's actually saying. In other statements, he said that was talking about assassinations of the supreme leader, various other things. So if you haven't figured it out by now, Trump is just a market manipulator. His job is to say stuff to manufacture chaos, and his buddies get to trade around it when they know what he's going to say next. He's not in charge. He's just part of the corporations that control America. He's not making the decisions. His job, he's acting exactly as he did with his tariff policies. He's just saying tariff on, tariff off, 10% here, 145% there. I might go and speak with this. I won't go and speak with that. We did a nice deal. We didn't do a nice deal. He just says everything. If you analyze based upon what Trump says, you're just going to be so you can't read anything into what Trump
I
says.
think just for the viewers' benefit, like if you don't know, he's already admitted that his friends were making billions off of the market manipulation, and also someone found on Polymarket people coming in and making like $500,000 bets on on policy decisions regarding Iran, so they're making fortunes off of this, off all the chaos.
But
Yeah,
when we know
the
all
more
these
volatile
things,
markets, the better hedge funds prefer it. Volatility is exactly what the hedge funds want. This is the dream. Trump is a dream for Wall Street. He is doing mass transfer of wealth from Main Street to Wall Street, and that's the net impact of all of this.
Hey, Simon, out of curiosity, how much of that do you think is pre-planned in sense of the the prospect that it's misdirection by calculation versus kind of just the benefit of complete chaos, gets you to the same manipulation either way?
Yeah, I mean, there's two types of trades. There's insider trading, which is one aspect. The other is just create volatility. The higher the volatility, the hedge funds know how to make money out of that. And at the same time, because there is a strategic weakening of the dollar ever since Trump reversed the 14-year bull market of the dollar, now we're below that $100 level, around about $98 at the moment. The financial institutions that are advising on treasury management strategies while they reallocate capital. I mean, this is just how you create fake GDP for those financial institutions and the BlackRocks of the world that get to manage all of the different movements through a portfolio. But volatility is the name of the game. You don't even need to be in the insider trading side there, especially if you're, a bank like Morgan Stanley and you get to do advisory fees for treasury management strategies, as well as implementing hedging and get to benefit from the strategic weakening of the dollar. Let alone the fact those people that are issuing stable coins like World Liberty Financial and Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., the higher the rate of the long-term interest, the more chaos in the economy, the more profitable a stable coin issuer gets to be. And so he's gone from in the last few months, he's gone from $0 to about a $15 billion market cap, mainly doing deals on the side with Middle Eastern deals. For example, brokering a deal where the Qatari Sovereign Wealth Fund would invest $2 billion into a crypto exchange like Binance. That would be done through his stablecoin, which means that he gets $60 million a year off the interest rate on the US government debt. They just passed the Genius Act, which means that everyone is going to have their stable coins. And the more stable coins, the more volatile the market, the higher the rate, the more profit there is to be made. So he can keep saying, I'm about to fire Powell, or I'm going to put Scott Bessent, the currency raider, as the head of the Federal Reserve that worked with George Soros. Like, he can keep doing that. And he's got like a two-way trade. And I would estimate so far in the Trump administration, I reckon he's tripled his net worth just upon the deals that he's been doing in the crypto markets.
But maybe just one last point. But U.S. hasn't officially said, like, as a stand, a regime change, right? Am I right on that? We all know. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the
there's
main
no
goal
official
of
stance.
that.
You could never say that.
Yeah.
That
If
would
that
be
was
a
the case,
declaration of war. You would never.
I know. If that was the case, so my question is, if that was the case, does U.S. have any reason after this? Because they already declared, they already destabilized the nuclear plant, right? If that was the case, do they have any reason afterwards to get involved at all? Because they don't have any excuse at this point, because they don't have official stand of a regime change except a nuclear plant. That's why I'm saying, if Iran didn't retaliate to U.S. sides, then U.S. wouldn't get any excuse to get engaged in. That was my point.
Well, it just depends what the optics are. So I personally believe everything that happened yesterday was just optics. So if there's another strategy to get involved for optical reasons, there's clearly, just if you analyze up the game from here, Israel is 100% a state dependency at the moment. They are a welfare state. Their defense system estimates to carry on like this were that they could last 12 days max before they would need some kind of support to continue like this. The Iron Dome has it's not defending, and with each attack, we're on, I think, the 20th round or something by now. The ratio of things that are getting through seems to be either consistent or ever increasing. But because there's in Israel, they're arresting you if you release any videos. They've got a media blackout. They're making sure that the extent of the damage in Israel is not commonly known or understood. And obviously controlling the media and propaganda in order to make it look like the world's most ethical army is executing the world's most precision attacks alongside its ally US, and who is defending Israel against a systemic nuclear attack by the Iranian people. And if you go to any other spaces, you'll see that narrative being pushed. But we could get more US intervention, we could get less. It all depends on the optics that wants to be seen from here.
I had a question for Simon, if we got a minute.
Go for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Simon, 2 mornings. Remember, I told you yesterday I was going to ask this. 2 mornings ago, you gave a speech about 8 minutes long, and your main thesis was this whole thing in the Middle East has actually been pre-negotiated, and it's a rebuilding project. Because after war, what do? You're going to have to rebuild, unless you're going to let it be uninhabitable land. So Gaza will have to be rebuilt. Israel will have to be rebuilt. So, or Palestine will have to be rebuilt. So my question to you, Simon, is you mentioned in your speech something about the tariffs had to come before this war. You were talking about BRICS, and you were talking about, I know you were talking about the tariffs, and the way I read that is the tariffs caused all the nations of the world to have to reevaluate their relationship with the United States, right? So you said that the tariffs had to come before this war, and of course, at the end of this war, they're going to need to rebuild. So I was wondering if you could unpack that for us a little bit. The Straits of Hormuz is very interesting because it almost seems like this is Iran's version of the tariffs. Because what is every nation going to have to do now? If they close the strait, every nation is going to have to come to Iran and say, hey, you like us? Let's reevaluate our relationship. How much do you, they're going to have to, it's a renegotiation. And your whole thesis was about the rebuilding that's going to happen. So the whole region is going to get transformed now. That was your main thesis. And also, another thing that we haven't talked about a lot on the space, we've talked a lot about oil. Guys, we've been talking about oil. We haven't talked a lot about the refineries. If you bomb a refinery and take it out, you can have a strategic reserve of oil. United States does, China does. I don't think there's no possible way to have a strategic reserve of refineries. If you take those out, the oil can't be refined. And they take years to build. Somebody in the space help me out if you know it, but I don't think you can build those right away. So how does that figure into it? Thank you so much, Simon. I've been waiting 2 days to ask this question.
All right, no worries. Yeah, when I was giving commentary on tariffs, I said pre April the 2nd, when we were moving to Liberation Day, which I believe was there is no trade war between China and America. That trade war has already been fought, and it was between BRICS and the West. And tariff policy was simply a way of resetting the world order and avoiding World War III, but resetting the world to a recognition of regional powers rather than US being the global hegemon. The impact of tariffs had three impacts. The first thing is a recognition that America was 100% dependent upon China, but China isn't 100% dependent upon America. China only exports 10 to 15% to America, and it controls a monopoly on rare earth minerals that are essential for all the components that make up the U.S. military, the U.S. technology industry, all laptops, all iPhones, the semiconductor, artificial intelligence, components for F-35 fighter jets, drones, everything. So it was all a show, as it were, in order to paint a MAGA narrative to the American people that they were going to be rebuilding the manufacturing base. And the manufacturing base can't be rebuilt. So the actual impact, well, it can only on AI and robotics. It can't be rebuilt by humans because humans could never compete with the cost base of China. And tariffs, all they do is if you are essentially the world reserve currency, your job is to export debt. And so therefore, inevitably, predictably guaranteed, the structure of your currency is you are a creator of debt and an exporter of debt. And so if you ever try to tackle the debt, you crash the economy, you crash the dollar, you weaken the dollar, and you create a global depression. So you can't actually repay the debt because the dollar is debt. So you create a pretense that you're repaying the debt, which is why it had to pivot. You create a pretense that you're rebuilding the manufacturing base when it can't be rebuilt. But the actual impact is as follows. Firstly, the companies within America that have to import from China, they have to pass the cost on. So you create a one-time increase in prices to that you just charge on, or you take a massive hit to profits for small to medium-sized businesses that are dependent upon those imports. That essentially takes a bunch of small to medium-sized businesses and allows investment banks to consolidate them into larger companies. So it's mass mergers and acquisition and transfer and consolidation of key assets to large multinational corporations. The same impact as COVID, essentially. The second thing is those same corporations get to acquire the vassalized export dependent states and key ports and key regions. So what it followed with was the Trump administration was negotiating for BlackRock against sovereign countries like China and the Belt and Road Initiative in order to reconfigure control over certain ports and certain key areas. And BlackRock ended up, vassalizing all it could, and the rest of it was the fact that BlackRock is also an investor in a multipolar world. So BlackRock is not an America First corporation. It has already invested in a growth of the Middle East under a new regional vision and an increase in the dominance of BRICS, as well as turning America into a technocracy and vassalizing Europe into a surveillance state. If you look at any of BlackRock's portfolios, you'll see that's what they've invested into. And that's the world order that's kind of been resetting. So it drives everyone away from America, weakens the dollar, pushes capital outflows out of America, and everybody gets closer to BRICS as a reliable partner, which essentially favors China, who had all the reserves that it needed because it's not got a debt-based Ponzi scheme central banking system, and it had vast gold reserves, as well as being a surplus country with $3 trillion of reserves. So you might as well say that Trump was working for BRICS. In the same time, he was negotiating all the deals with the Gulf countries, and his number one bank was ICBC, the largest bank in China. So he was profiting from all those deals all along. He was also creating all of the stablecoin and Bitcoin infrastructure and accumulating a bigger position in Bitcoin as he could, as well as utilizing the volatility in the debt for his stablecoin so that he can personally enrich himself from that transition as you create a dollar built upon a crypto blockchain that can flow capital around the world a lot faster. And people can protect themselves with Bitcoin, which is essentially a trade: short the dollar, go long Bitcoin. Now, in terms of this, what we're witnessing right now is, I believe, we're witnessing how to reset the Middle East into a regional stability play. And that involved negotiating with the GCC, normalizing between Iran and Saudi Arabia, which is what China did in BRICS. And BRICS and the GCC created de-dollarization trade routes that allowed them to become a significant competing power that was immune from sanctions. And so now, how do you reset the board? Well, it is a recognition that Israel can no longer be a destabilization force in the region. It stops receiving its military backing. And there is a compelling, and a recognition that the GCC knows that the only way that the resistance stops is if you resolve the Palestinian cause, which looks like a one-state solution, and that Iran and Saudi, despite their ideological differences, recognize that Iran is going to be sovereign, and it needs to stop supporting the resistance, because the need for the resistance is no longer there if military stop becoming a destabilizing force in the region and stop backing Israel. So I think what you're witnessing is the vassalization of Israel, the strategic exit of the military industrial complex as a destabilizing force in the region. And then you can move over to the rebuild contracts, the removal of sanctions, most likely a one-state solution, and essentially the decolonization of America into the region. And that all is in line with resetting the world into being at the center between BRICS and America, particularly as all this artificial intelligence, energy, and robotics becomes more and more important, which requires vast amounts of energy in order to usher in this. And so I believe that you're witnessing portfolio theory between negotiations between sovereign countries, and I think I think we're witnessing the execution of how to get there in acceptable manner. But people don't like to think that the world's that orchestrated or possible.
And also,
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Simon. Really quick, crypto. I do want to. How many questions do you have left? Really quick. Go ahead.
I just wanted to give some context. When he's referring to distressed assets in Israel, he's meaning that, of course, after the war, all those businesses will have to be transferred to someone else.
Yeah, which would be the GCC and BlackRock, I think, and that's kind of the deals that Trump has been negotiating.
Right, absolutely. I do want to stay. We can definitely keep covering that topic. I just want to spread the mic around a bit because we do have a lot of new speakers on the stage. Guys, also in the request right now who are requesting, hit that repost button. If you want to get on stage, you must repost this space. We're talking about breaking news: Iran to shut the Strait of Hormuz down. Obviously yesterday was a huge night with massive news. I told everybody in the morning, it was only like 2,000 people in here. I said, guys, you guys are all leaving a little bit too soon. There's something about to go on here. And then boom, it happened, And so we saw Donald Trump completely get puppeted by the puppeteer Netanyahu and his fellow genocidal bankers and masters as well, who funds this entire system. We saw that go on, and we saw America, led by Donald Trump. Unfortunately, we saw them bomb Iran. Now we're waiting on a response. So far, this is the first response. There could be even more massive response, strike wise, sometime today as well. Is what I would be assuming. Some people are saying it could be mind games being played on, so it's a 50-50. I think it's probably like a good probability. I'm not as confident as yesterday. Yesterday, I think there were like more signs that I could go off of, but I think there still is a pretty high probability. Things are also about to kick off tonight, so definitely stay tuned because something could definitely happen like that. I want to go to the new speakers on stage as well, but before I do so, let me just check if there's any important breaking news, and there is breaking. Iran's Sham Khani, even assuming the complete destruction of the sites, the game is not over because enriched materials, indigenous knowledge, and political will remain intact. Now the initiative, both politically and operationally, lies with the side that both knows how to play the game smartly and avoids blind strikes. The surprises will continue. So, okay, I take that back, guys. I think there is a pretty high probability things are going to kick off today, too. And we're probably going to see a retaliation after that massive strike. So that's breaking news right now, guys. It's looking like things are really about to take off. Justin, and by the way, guys, follow Suleiman. This is where I'm getting this breaking news from. I'm getting this breaking news directly from Suleiman Ahmed, the host, from his profile page. Make sure you scroll up, you hit that follow button. He's the main host. If this space were to ever go down, right, or because we're constantly attacked by the Zayos, he will restart it right away, right? And we'll let you know when right away that we're restarting. It's going to be restarted. You get the notification, so that's why it's important you follow him, and then you turn on that notification bell for always allow. We got some more breaking news. Footage of Iranian ballistic missiles being launched at Israel this morning. So this is breaking news. This is just now, just in, and we got the video clipped above. So it looks like things are kicking off a lot sooner than I even expected right here, guys. This is massive news. This is the footage right here. And then we got Iran's Shamkhani basically with that statement. That's a huge statement. So it looks like there's going to be a lot more surprises, a lot bigger surprises incoming, which is massive news. Let's go to Miriam. Miriam, are you there? If not, I'm going to rotate the speakers, guys, because we just have a lot of requests. So okay, let's go to unapologetic.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Movit, quick question to Simon before we change the topic. So two questions actually. One, he said one state solution. I wonder what he means by that. Does he mean one state solution as in there's one state of Israel and Palestinians will be dependent on it and whatnot? And I believe this is his personal point of view, and I respect that. I just want him to kind of extend on that. And the second thing is, um, I mean, everybody knows Trump's vocabulary and his approaches are very narrow. He's not that, that genius guy out there. I wonder, does like he's saying, he's doing these deals here and there. He's making money from BRICS. He's working for BRICS, this and that. What makes you think he's that smart of a businessman who has, I would say, filed for bankruptcy over 20 times for different companies, different big corporations that he owned? And that affected many small businesses out there in construction field, in real estate field, and whatnot. And I'm gonna go ahead with my other questions down the road.
I mean a one-state solution, as in, I think after this, at some stage, I don't know the exact details of how we get there, but the net outcome, whether it's in the near term, very soon, or over the next few months, there's going to be the negotiated exit of Benjamin Netanyahu. He's holding on to leverage by prolonging the genocide right now in order to try and strategically use his negotiation power, and he's trying to be as useful to the military-industrial complex as possible, draw in some last profits. The more bombs that drop, the more that happened. It means Israel ends up with less of their munition and more profits for the military companies that he essentially works for. And he's trying to be as useful to them in negotiating his exit. And I don't know all the leverage points he has to try and make sure he doesn't end up sacrificed, murdered, or in prison, or whatever the plan is for him. Then I think we end up with the overthrow of the cabinet. I think it's going to send Israel into a lot of unrest, population decrease. I think many people will be leaving, and you'll just end up with, the kind of radicalized Zionists. It's just going to be a very low economic activity. It's going to be a dependent state. And then somehow I believe there's going to be a managed transition. I don't know what the name is going to be. I think it will eventually be Arab majority. I just don't know exactly what everything looks like. But the end result is you don't have a state of Israel that is used by military companies in order to manufacture chaos in the region and be a force for Western imperialism. I think that regime is over. And so therefore the rebuild will set the control structure, how much is controlled by the GCC through their investment, and how much is controlled by external forces like BlackRock and their portfolio companies. That's what I think comes from this. And then just like Singapore, I think the Palestinians get the opportunity to build, based upon decolonize. And I think that's where this is all going. It's just based upon the current structure. But the main thing is that it's no longer an expanding force for military profits, destabilization, and Western imperialism. That's what I think comes next. The part about Trump's profits, he's a deal maker. He's just getting himself into all of these deals. He's not the business maker. If you think that America represents people and the government represents America, then you haven't understood the power dynamics of America. America has been securitized and financialized into global financial institutions. and those global financial institutions manage assets, and they, they're America is just a host nation for corporate interest. And so you get to do some deals in that process. And those institutions that control America, they have nothing to do with an America First agenda. In fact, they're global. They're invested into BRICS. They're invested into multipolarity. They're invested into global technocracy. They don't care about surveillance of the people. That's what Europe, UK, and America, and even Israel is. It's just a tool for executing those interests.
Well, I understand, appreciate the response. A little bit of, I mean, I don't want to really stretch that topic about, one state solution. What I know for a fact that having a one state solution for a region that is, of course, undisputed Arabic, Arab nation, undisputed Palestinian land. However, in the world's eye, it is a disputed area, this and that is not going to end up, but to my, from my perspective, it's not going to be just one state solution within the next, at least, I don't know, like a decade, I would say. But
I think it could
anyways,
happen a lot sooner than that. If you level the settlements, if you level the region, if you economically destroy infrastructure, then it will be acquired by the relevant people. And if you are a neighbor, if the GCC gets more control than BlackRock, just it's kind of like Ukraine at the moment. It's a battle between Russia and BlackRock is taking over the resources, and then Trump is negotiating for the manufacturing base to get rare earth minerals and the technology companies. It's kind of in that similar type of situation, and the more that goes to its neighbors, and then the better, and the less interference from Western interests and BlackRock, the better. But that's the negotiations, and that's about the power of the region, and that's why I believe Iran held the key, because Iran was the only one that could move the region to that vision, because the Palestinian cause has to be resolved, which means that the Axis don't have the purpose that they once had, which was to liberate.
No, I get it. I'm not talking about, happening, the destruction is going to happen sooner or later. I'm talking about the whole resolution for the entire region, and of course the rebuilding of the rebuilding process, and like ending the entire thing may take a decade. And as far as, I'm concerned, the Russia, Ukraine, I'm not going to dive into that. As far as I'm concerned about the region of, Middle East region, the thing that is holding everything back is the military operations. It's the weaponry system that's holding the entire thing down, because there's a resistant group that is basically trying to request for what they, not request necessarily, trying to get back what they deserve, what they had for centuries, and the other side is they just occupy. They're the aggressors. That's the whole point that I'm trying to make. But as far as, the region being stabilized and all that stuff, I mean, I respect everybody's point of view, but because of what's going on today and what's been going on for decades, that region is not going to get stabilized for at least another decade. As far as the Trump's point of view, I mean, I know for a fact that, the United States, or those big corporations that are managing the United States are they're not people, people first, the America first, they're not. I know that for a fact. However, there's a huge, I mean, everybody knows that. Everybody who, excuse me, has watched the Middle East going down, I'm talking about Iraq going down, talking about Syria going down, everybody knows that even back in the days, many governments have been thrown, basically thrown away. When many management systems have been thrown away, there's one thing, one basis that is there that can possibly do that. That's the population. And what I'm trying to say is, if the United States population, the people who are basically waking up from all these uh, bullshit that has been, that has been injected in them for decades about Israel, America First, and all that bullshit, many people are waking up from that. And if they realize what's going on is against them, they have a full power, constitutional power to throw the government. And that is going to make a hugely different deal than what we think that can happen, as far as, the big corporations do this and this and that, if that makes sense.
Well, I mean, it's probably off topic, but I believe that America has a monetary issue, and a debt-based monetary system is designed to have the inevitable, predictable, and guaranteed result that you have seen. It changes empires. It's a self-destruct mechanism. It's a Ponzi scheme, and it never ends well. So if America wants to fix itself, it has to fix its money. And tax reform or tariffs ain't going to fix it. It's only going to make things worse.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Simon, and unapologetic. That was definitely an interesting topic. Next up, we got really quick. Let me check, guys. We got some breaking news in. Make sure if you're in the space right now to hit the repost button, share the space as much as possible because it's about to kick off here. We got some breaking news. We got Thomas Massey, the actual Thomas Massey, the actual public figure, politician, probably the only realist politician in the government right now, came out and said APEC is very persuasive. If you look at my colleagues' feeds now, they all look the same. They're all tweeting the same message, which is absolute facts, guys. We're seeing a lot of the same messages being posted by the same puppets of Israel. I've posted, I think, some of it, and Suleiman's posted some of that on his profile, where you're seeing a lot of these politicians and these, hardcore magatards who support Trump no matter what he does. We're seeing like all their tweets look exactly the same, or just like maybe just a slight bit of a variation, but it's looking like the same thing, same message, which is, oh, you're not MAGA if you're not supporting Trump, and stuff like that. So we're starting to see a lot of that bull crap. I want to welcome Matt Baker to the stage as well. We got some hands up as well, so tune in, guys. Also, make sure to repost the space if you're requesting to speak, and make sure you follow Suleiman as well. This is massive news that's come out these last 2 days, huge news, and so we're covering all this news. We also got the German foreign minister has came out and said Europeans will assist in potential talks between Iran and the United States, which it doesn't sound like that because earlier we had news earlier from NATO, kind of giving a warning in a red line. Let's go to Nayeb.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah to the host Sulaiman Ahmad and other listeners.
Walaikum assalam.
Thank Thank you. I just want to take 5 minutes of yours and talk about the fateful crisis in the Middle East. So, the Zionist regime, Iran, and the Palestinian Islamic resistance, all three sides are facing a situation that's crucial to their survival. Israel has been intent on directly engaging Iran in a war with it since the beginning of this crisis, so that the regime, with the support of the United States, can put an end to its regional power, technological capabilities, and political military influences. The regime wants to do this at the same time for two reasons. First, Zionists believe that if Iran is not stopped now, the United States may reach an agreement with Iran on nuclear technology and uranium enrichment due to its other priorities. If this agreement is reached, Israel will be very powerless against Iran in the long run. This was the main reason for the regime's clear opposition to Iran on nuclear technology during the Obama era. They succeeded in forcing the United States to unilaterally withdraw from the nuclear deal with Iran during the first term of Donald Trump. And the second, Zionism knows that with the change in the global balance, 10 to 15 years from now, America will no longer be the power it has been for the past 30 years. They think that this is the time when, if you want to cut off Iran's hand from major regional politics, they must undermine it with American funding. On the other hand, there are the Iranians who have been at odds with the Zionist regime and the United States for decades on some fundamental issues. Recently, all the issue and the American negotiations with them have been resolved, but the only remaining issue on which they could not reach an agreement was the issue of uranium enrichment. The Iranians believe that the Americans allowed Israel to directly strike Iran in order to pressure them to make a deal on uranium enrichment issue. So far, the Iranian government's position in this regard seems very serious, stating that it will never be willing to lose its uranium enrichment capability through pressure and force. The Iranian believe that if they bow to current state of pressure, they may lose the capability they have gained over decades of work, and if they stand firm, they may prove their security and power in the region forever with this capability. For this reason, they see the stage as a fateful situation. But on the other hand, there is the Palestinian resistance, which have been facing the challenge of the Zionist regime for decades. Before October 7, their calculation was that if they did not take a vital position at this particular stage of regional and international politics, they might be permanently removed from the equation in the Palestinian issue. They knew that the plan of normalization in the Abrahamic covenant was to permanently subjugate the Palestinian issue. The main goal of the October 7 was that this time they should make a fundamental decision about their fate. This is what happened. They were able to revive the Palestinian issue on each way that it may not think of bearing the regional world powers again for centuries. The Islamic resistance is also currently fighting a vital battle for its own destiny, and if they manage to get out of it in a situation where they retain their control over Gaza, the resistance will prove to be a legitimate reference point for the issue in the future. The current situation in the Middle East is equally fundamental and vital. The next 10 years international politics are a transitional period in which these parties decide the fate of their survival in order to prove themselves. Uh, that was my point of view. Thank you for giving me time. So, inshallah,
Absolutely.
I will talk later more.
Absolutely, inshallah. Yeah, thank you so much. That's I definitely agree with a lot of what you said. You know, it's been decades, and a lot of people need to realize it's been decades of Israel occupying Palestine. It's been decades of Israel, occupying America, and we saw that last night, and we're seeing it now with a lot of these puppet politicians repeating the same things over and again. We got even more breaking news, guys, from the Homeland Security. We got U.S. terror alert. Iran conflict sparks a homeland warning. So this is what the Department of Homeland Security says. The Iran-Israel war is now a domestic threat, warning of cyber attacks and possible lone wolf violence in the U.S. Iranian hackers, both state-backed and fanboys with Wi-Fi, are expected to target weak U.S. systems. So this is funny. So they're saying I guess fanboys with Wi-Fi are targeting weak U.S. systems, which if anything, more than anything, is pretty much embarrassing because just think about all the tax dollars we pay. Why is there weak U.S. systems to begin with? You know that's my question as a taxpayer here. Like, where's the tax dollars going? And obviously,
Exactly.
sorry, I got a phone call. Obviously, it's all going to Israel. That's where the tax dollars going.
Now we got to
So
worry
yeah,
about
that's
this.
breaking news
That's
right now,
great.
guys. They just came out with this warning. They said violence could spike. This is a warning from home. that violence could spike here. So this is massive news. Fayed, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mafid, and thanks to Suleiman and Simon and everybody. I just want to talk a little bit about. I will start from that last point you mentioned, Mafid, which is the money issue. I made some search today about the cost of the American hit to last night, just last night hit, and only the direct cost of that hit. Which means the cost of the bombs and the logistics and the flying, whatever, direct cost, not indirect cost, and it is about $550 million. This is the figure that I could find out from my research. Indirect is expected to go to billions and even maybe trillions will be if Iran decides to escalate the situation, including closing the Hormuz
Exactly,
road,
Craig.
the Hormuz corridor.
It's just the point now we have to deal with this, thanks to us doing
the
what we did.
Americans will be very soon asking the hard questions to Donald Trump. Why should America go and do this? And we are in a bad need for that money for internal issues, including health systems and including schools and education, whatever. Why America has to do that? And there is no benefit at all, as Simon yesterday was also analyzing and mentioning and talking about it. So I am sure this will be reflecting very badly on the internal situation in the United States, even if Iran doesn't directly attack American interests in the Gulf area or around the region. The other point I want to mention, from this point, I will go forward and I will say that I expect that Iran will concentrate on the same direction by attacking only the Zionist entity and not any American interests in the region, any American facilities in the region, because for Iran, they know that all this happened because of the Zionist entity, and they are the ones who are causing all trouble in the Middle East and in the region. So we saw this morning practically that immediately Iran started that plan or that reaction. They made the phase 20 of the True Promise 3, and it was a very successful and accurate one. It's expected that this kind of reaction will continue and will be intensified in the coming couple of days, and I think that will be the strategy to punish not only Israel but also the United States, because using that tactics will put Trump in a very bad position. He cannot come back to attack Iran again this time, as long as Iran is not directly attacking American facilities in the region and bases. And he will not be also expecting that Iran will surrender and will come to negotiations table. They already said they are not doing that. They are not going to do it. They're not accept the conditions that the United States were putting. And especially that he already said that he hit the reactors of the nuclear reactors of Iran. So there is no issue now to discuss about the nuclear reactors or the nuclear project. Although Iran is not going to abandon the project, I am sure about that. I think they will be even reacting by going towards a much higher activation of the uranium. in the coming few months or weeks. The Iranians are saying they will need. There's some, I don't know. I'm not sure who said that, but there is an estimation of about $40 million are needed to make the renovation of the sites that they were hit, which is a very small figure, very small number that can be easily be allocated and done. So after what happened this morning, I think what we are having is, in practical terms, what we are having is that Iran still having their uranium, and they are still having the facilities, and they still can fire missiles effectively towards the Zionist entity, and they also can use their drones as well to disturb and even to attack some specific targets in the occupation side. The strategy will be then to prolong the war with the Zionist entity, and that will be causing a huge suffering and even a collapse economically and socially, and on the security level, as well as probably political crisis that will come into the occupation side. At the same time, I am expecting the Ansarullah from Yemen to be also attacking and causing troubles to the American warships or American even traders that are passing through the Red Sea and around that region. And that will also be causing some difficulties. Hormuz will be probably open. I'm not expecting complete closure of it, but most likely Iran will be also making some measures around that region that will raise the tension a little bit higher. The prices will go up a little bit. Complete closure, maybe not, because that's a I think that's another phase of the problem. Here, I would just want to mention finally that while watching all of this, there is still continuous genocide going on in Gaza. Dozens of people on a daily basis are being killed. I just want everybody, please.
I think he cut off, right? Is that just me?
I think we lost him. Yeah. He was about to pay, everybody should pay their respects to the genocide in Gaza, I think. And the Zayas tried to take him out for that one. Hopefully he'll come back. Just wanted to comment as well, like the cost of this operation is no joke. Israel is a distressed asset at this stage. Like they don't have the ability to carry on at this rate for much longer. If you look at the situation in US right now, if they're going to be subsidizing this, there's an account with the Federal Reserve called the TGA, which is the Treasury General Account. That's like the checking account for the US Treasury. It's currently got about $446 billion as of last week. Now, it has been depleting over time, which represents basically the pace at which US is able to roll over its debt in order to meet its liabilities. Because the US doesn't bring in enough tax revenue in order to cover its cost, it basically always needs to auction off bonds as they expire and roll over the debt. And so the fact that the interest rate is increasing right now and the Fed didn't cut rates, any significant costs like this, like funding an operation like this, would lead to depletion of the TGA. And right now, you're seeing a long-term trend that the auctions of the US debt, they are all still selling out, but they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And so this really could set, and particularly if there was a closing down of the Strait, which I don't think there will be, but if there were, that's the type of thing that could put America into a debt spiral, deplete the TGA, and then if they have to sell bonds in distress and they aren't able to meet that mortgage demand, then they have to pay a higher and higher rate, or they have to issue shorter term debt. And so shorter term debt just essentially means we're only able to lend to the US government, or we're only willing to lend to the US government for like a week, 3 weeks, or up to 3 months. Which is essentially the exact same position you'd expect a country like Argentina to be in at the end of a debt crisis. So US can't afford this operation. Any type of market uncertainty that results from this, is drawing closer and closer to that inevitable, kind of debt spiral that the US could find itself in, particularly when it's making enemies all around the world because of its tariff policy. And so countries like Japan are not buying them anymore. China's not buying them anymore. The only buyer at the moment is Cayman Islands, which is essentially your own pension. So they're selling your debt to you via BlackRock, and Trump's basically picking up some of the debt via these stable coins, and that's why they're implementing that. So it is a very desperate situation that the US has found itself in, and these operations they really don't help. They don't help in the slightest. So don't think that there's the almighty, this is a waning power, and you can't analyze based upon history because we're entering into an unprecedented time.
Absolutely, it's definitely unprecedented for sure.
Yes.
I believe, though. Go ahead.
Yes, sorry, Mohammed. I was disconnected for some reason. I don't know what happened.
You were talking about the people in Gaza. So
just a couple of quick points. The first one is about Gaza, and I hope that we keep eye on that, because on a daily basis there is continuous genocide going on and continuous slaughtering of people, including children, women, and elderly and men. At the same time, starvation is reaching really a very high level. Prices are enormous. You can't believe how much high the prices are in Gaza. It's 10 times or even 20 times more than any very expensive place on earth, because there is actually no food to buy actually there. So people are paying the huge prices for the rare things that are available, being stolen here or there, or from the aid company, that is also causing terrible difficulties to the people. The other point is about Jerusalem. Probably some of the people probably don't know that since this trouble, this aggression on Iran started, Al-Aqsa Mosque is being closed. People are not allowed in for about now 9 days. People are not allowed to go make prayers. And I think it's an excuse that the Israelis are using, because they have a plan against Al-Aqsa Mosque, and they want to divide it between Muslims and Jews. And they are using now the situation because Ben Gvir, as we know, Ben Gvir is the one who is responsible for the situation in Al-Aqsa Mosque. And he's using the situation now, the aggression against Iran, and preventing people from entering the Al-Aqsa Mosque, although the Jews are still having some prayers near the wall, near Al-Aqsa Mosque. So I hope also we keep eye on that as well, and report about it as much as we can. I will end here, and thank you very much again for allowing me in.
I do want to say that I appreciate you bringing up the people in Gaza again. You know, I wish I could say that I had the cold sort of philosopher's eye on all of this stuff, but if you look at all of the greatest people in history, that all of the greatest minds in history, they were advocates for peace, equanimity, the political state, which Nietzsche called the coldest of all monsters. It inspires sociopathy and psychopathy. It inspires that. We call our politicians our representatives and yet take no responsibility when they kill a bunch of people. Charles Manson was never convicted of murder. He was convicted of conspiracy to commit murder because he was inspiring, helping, subsidizing people to go off and do it, and he wasn't doing it himself. And gosh, why don't our politicians suffer the same consequence? At least morally, at least from our judgment. So I'm not able to sit back from my armchair and just look at this in a sanguine sort of way. I'm very, very sad about it. I actually think that the Israelis are probably using the cloak of war to kill a lot more Palestinians, kill a lot more people in Gaza. I don't want the children anywhere. Not in not in Iraq, which what happened in the course of millions of people, not in Gaza, not anywhere. I don't want them to suffer. I don't want another war. What's happening right now, really, Socrates said, "I'm too honest to be a politician." And what we're talking about is insincere people, and we have to disaggregate ourselves from them. It's just a very, very sad thing to watch all this go down. It's completely illegitimate. These people are completely full of shit. I mean, their logic doesn't work out. They don't have the pleasure of agreeing with themselves. And the consequence of this irrationality is a lot of death and a lot of immiseration of humanity itself, and not just the Iranians.
Absolutely, yeah. For those tuned in right now, I mean, there still is definitely a genocidal holocaust going right now in Gaza, Palestine. So we're still seeing that go on, and definitely, I believe what you said is very factual. That Israel is using this as an excuse, also as a deflection to get people to look over here, not over there. What they're doing over there in Gaza, Palestine, they are literally committing a Holocaust. So if you're in like other spaces, for those who are just tuned in, those who are new to this entire topic, and you might be thinking, oh, those Israelis, those Zionists, those Jewish supremacists on the stage right now, they might be thinking like correctly, or this might be logical. Just remember, this genocidal Zionist regime is literally committing a Holocaust against humanity in Gaza, Palestine, as we speak. So, like, they're not only starting wars with Iran and starting wars with every other country in the world, but they're also committing a Holocaust to their neighbors. I mean, this is the kind of danger, this is the kind of insanity that we are dealing with as a world right here. So this is why this is such a massive topic, such big news right now, because we got Iran and Israel going back and forth now. So stay tuned. We got some news incoming. We got some more news incoming just now. I'm just trying to organize it. We got major breaking. It seems Iran has officially closed the Strait of Hormuz, which is massive news, guys. So hit the repost button, hit the favorite button. I just pinned that post up top. This is from Suleiman, guys. This is massive news. It looks like we might get an official closed strait. So massive news. It seems like they did officially close it. Iran has started returning tankers to the strait. Ships set to cross the Strait of Hormuz make a 180-degree U-turn at 9:15 a.m. ET this morning. This was just minutes after Iran's parliament approved closing the strait. Expect oil prices to rocket. This is massive. This is huge news. And as I think Simon was saying it earlier, this would cause a potential debt market collapse, which I also agree with. We can't risk this, and this is all at the fault of Israel. Once again, I mean, This is why I was really shocked yesterday too, when it all took down. When it all happened, the big event was not just because of we're going to another war. What Because we are really on the brink here, and it looks like thanks to Israel, that brink falling off that brink is coming a lot sooner than expected. Simon, any comments on this?
So what's the update specifically?
Looks like they've closed it. They've officially closed it. There's been returning tankers, and ships at the cross have made a 180-degree U-turn at 9:15 a.m. So it's confirmed right now, almost like
Yeah.
dang
So
near like 99% confirmed.
okay, so it feels like they're creating disruption, but we need to just drill into the definition of what closed actually means, because I think it would mean a naval blockade. But at the moment, I think we need to drill into the specifics as we get closer to whether this is actually closed or not. I think Andrew had his hand up as I was speaking.
Yep.
Did you want to comment on that?
Yes, quickly, again, I'm talking Straits of Hormuz, speaking from the Navy, United States Navy. That is the key. That closes, completely shuts down. That's a game changer. Now, since we have not, again, I'm saying this, since we have not seen a massive surge of U.S. forces, and I'm talking logistics, I'm talking naval assets from the 6th Fleet, 7th, 5th Fleets. This tells me that it's all a big, they're going to do it with strategic strikes, like from the B-2 bombers and whatnot. But there's no way America can take on this issue with carriers. The Straits of Hormuz, as I said earlier, it's very shallow, it's very restricted. The Iranians got this, they do. So what this is going to be is a big ruse. It's just going to be a fake. When I say fake, a feign. We're going to close it. But if it really, really, really does happen, then there's only the nuclear option. And I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I'm still
I can see
with
it happening though.
And
Sorry,
I didn't quite understand that. Do you mean nuclear option on whose behalf?
The United States would literally, we don't have the United States. Honestly, we've not seen the assets in place for a massive show of force for the United States to go pound the hell out of Iran with naval forces. Aircraft carriers are a joke there. Let's be honest, submarines, they're very limited because of the depth. They're going to have to do long-range Tomahawk TLAM strikes, air strikes from B-2s, submarines. I'm from the submarine community. Would have to be strikes from TLAMs. But again, it's only little, it's like getting little pinpricks. Look at the Desert Storm. I was in the Pentagon for Desert Storm 1, and that was a massive, massive control of a major push in logistics and naval assets in place with the Army, also the United States Army. You don't see massive movements of troops in those positions because we can't take that on. We're not going to take Iran on the ground. Talk to Colonel McGregor, talk to Skyward, talk to the military, even the generals who are Zionists themselves talking points on Fox News. They're saying the same thing. We do not want and cannot fight a ground war in Iran. It's got to be air. It's got to be strike missions from submarines with tactical I'm talking conventional warheads. They're called TLAMs. So what does that mean? Iran knows this. Iran's very aware, and they're very, as Truth has said, all these people who really know what they're talking about on this channel here, Iran knows this. They're not stupid. They're not some third world little country to kick around. They are a serious, serious force. And their Navy's underestimated all the time. They're like, they're like that one Thomas guy, a pure Zionist, and of course he throws up the anti-Semitism card. And we're not talking about the being anti-Semites. We are talking anti-Zionism, the cabal that has their boot on America's neck. But back to the Navy and Hormuz. And Simon knows this, if they really, really, really shut it down, we're going to see it being mined. It's going to be thoroughly mined. Now, turn around is one thing. Hey, turn back around. You're not coming through. So what? But if the Iranians start mining, putting, mines are, and I'm talking the subsurface mines and then the really serious mines to get mini submarine stuff, that's when the United States is not going to send in naval forces because we'll get annihilated. So we've got to go with the big stuff. And I'm talking, it will escalate. Now, the world knows the United States is not going to come in with a nuclear strike and turn Iran into a glass parking lot. So what does that mean? It'll all come down to, all right, we got to sit down and renegotiate. And I'm not trying to give people a false sense of hope, but it either goes global, nuclear, mutual, assured destruction, or it's going to be a big back and forth. And then this also is really, I'm going to get off here, but I want to talk about that Ben Gurion canal project someone asked me about. That's not going to happen, making an alternate canal so Israel can control that 180, 200-mile waterway through the Israeli Negev desert. But yeah, so I'll get off on that. This is really serious, though, the Straits of Hormuz. Speaking strategically from the United States Navy, that's very, very serious.
Okay, so if anybody's got any breaking news, we're trying to see if there is actually any genuine progression towards closing it down. I think the only confirmed thing we've had so far is that the Iranian parliament has approved that as an option. Again, so we're trying to drill down into what needs to happen. The consensus is that it would require a naval blockade, and a naval blockade would be a very escalatory, event. And Andrew provided some of his analysis in terms of what this could actually mean as an escalation. I think if anybody does have any breaking news or updates, then we want to keep delivering that to you. But in terms of military conflict and economic conflict, it is very, very significant. It would be, the economic nuclear option. I'm at this stage not anticipating it to happen, but things have surprised me, and we will see what actually comes from this, and we'll keep bringing the news to you. If we try and stay, so just looking at some hands, who should we bring in, Mofit?
Let's go to let's hear quickly. Let's hear from Ahmed because I think he has a different kind of perspective on things. Ahmed, are you there?
What's
Did
up?
you hear the most recent news?
I did actually. Okay, you guys will all disagree with me, but I guess we can just respect to the disagreements. Is that, in my opinion, is that look at Iran, how if they didn't even have a nuclear bomb, but look at what they did to the region. They even funded terrorism in my own country, tried to overthrow the royal family. They even tried to even fund the terrorism through the Shias in Bahrain. Luckily, we were one of the entities of the five entities. You're talking about Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen, and Iraq, and so one of Manama, Bahrain was gonna be of like part of the Iranian Empire.
Ahmed, really quick.
Yeah.
I meant like on what Iran's about to do to the Strait. Like, how would that affect your region if they go ahead with this?
Well, we have good relations at the moment with Iran, and I don't believe they're actually gonna attack the military bases at all. I feel like they should actually just go and retaliate on Israel because that's just a military base for Israel, for Iran, for America. I really believe like Israel is just like a 51 state for the United States, and I feel like Iran at the moment to bring back
Hey,
the
Ahmed,
dignity
who's
of
the
the Iranian
majority in
people.
Bahrain? Is Shias or Sunnis?
Actually, it's Sunnis because like most of the
It's
like
actually the
all the
Shias. You just
articles we
lied.
get,
It's only
that's not
45%
true.
Sunni. So it's a minority ruling over a majority. And it's actually the
But hold
Shias that are
on, truth,
persecuted in
truth.
Bahrain.
Yeah,
So you just
that's another
lied. How many
discussion.
Shia mosques have they shut down in Bahrain?
That's another discussion. But here's the thing: is
That's
that
another discussion. So
we
you
have
came here with
Right,
the
but
lying
truth.
guy.
okay.
I
But
want to
Now you
get
let
want to
me
into
ruin.
answer. Let me
Hold
answer.
on, hold on. Truth. I want to be on topic, truth teller. Let's not go that route because I specifically asked Ahmed that question, so we would not go that route. So moving forward, let's just stick on the topic. Go ahead, Ahmed. Let's go back to the topic.
Yeah, thank you. Pretty much like 25 ministers, 9 of them are Shia. So like we do not actually discriminate. Is that some of them actually follow the clerics and
Yeah,
the
you do.
Shiites and stuff in
You do
Iran, and they
discriminate.
try to overthrow our country. We crush them because our country will be safe with power or
Truth.
force,
I do
whatever.
not want to talk about
And
Bahrain.
yeah,
Truth.
He's
yeah.
doing it
Let's
right
not.
now.
Truth.
All right,
Truth,
because you
I
brought
know,
it
but
up.
I don't want. It's because you brought it up.
And
Truth. I don't want to bring it
you
up
brought it
anymore.
up,
Come
actually.
on.
You
So
injected into
at
the
the
Stick to
conversation
Muffin,
saying that
Israel.
Iran wanted to do a regime change in your country. You just lied. You're a lying sack of shit. A typical
all right,
Sunni
no
supremacist
problem. All right,
activated
cool.
terrorist. That's what you are.
It doesn't
That's
matter. We won anyway.
Yeah, it
So
doesn't matter.
as I
Look,
said
you're an
about
Arab terrorist.
Iran,
Everyone knows, and you're choked that Iran is wiping out your friend Israel, and you're next.
my friend, actually, I'm praising. Look,
Yeah,
you have to
that's right.
listen.
You guys
Ask your
align
Sunni
yourselves with
Arabs in the
Israel. You
region.
serve as a
Can I
base for
speak?
Israel and
Can I
America.
speak? Can I
Truth,
speak?
truth
Your
teller.
opinion is
Please
What is this
let the
irrelevant
guy
man
anyway,
about?
but sure, the host says you can speak. Go ahead. It's all a bunch of bullshit anyway.
Yeah, I know you heard. I know. Anyway, your
Yeah,
clarity
I'm
in Iran.
heard. It's
Getting here.
fun. It's funny
Anyway,
watching the Arab Gulf states panic because
how
Iran's
about you
about to
act
pull
civilized,
out a
okay? Let's
blitzkrieg
have
and
a
wipe out
civilized
all the U.S.
conversation.
bases. You
Stop
guys are
acting like a
harboring.
hobo, all
You
right?
guys harbor terrorists. That's what you do.
Okay, guys, come on. But it's getting hard to hear when you both are like going back and forth like this.
Right,
Come on,
I
guys.
don't have much
Let's.
time. Can I just like go in?
Yeah,
Look,
yeah. If I want you to, yeah, if you could finish what you were saying earlier, because it started getting interesting. Go ahead.
What's up, your harem? Little boys and girls are waiting for you.
I really believe Iran at the moment should retaliate in the strongest way possible. Whatever missiles they have in their own like storage room, whatever like hypersonic or supersonic, whatever missile you have, they have to shower it and rain it all over Tel Aviv completely. Because this is an attack on the Iranian regime, this is an attack on the Iranian people, and they kill civilians. Iran has the right to defend itself, okay? Me, okay, I'm against Iran, I'm against Israel, but here, whoever has the right to defend itself is Iran. And they did not actually interfere in Israel. They never bombed Israel ever. That never happened. Okay, and Israel always tried to find excuses to actually completely attack Iran because this is one of the entities that are just like have a different point of views and doesn't follow the imperialism and like pretty much the Anglo-Saxon world. So I really feel like Iran at the moment to bring back the dignity of like Shia Islam and bring back the Iranian type of empire's dignity, they have to at the moment completely shower all the missiles they have on Tel Aviv. We had to see skyscrapers fall on the ground. They have to attack the headquarters of like the Minister of Interior, the Minister of War. They have to completely attack even Tel Aviv. Israelis are going to do a very disgusting thing. Okay, they are very advanced in technology. They might actually get all these Iranian missiles and like react them and derail them all the way to a mosque or probably the Aqsa Mosque because they'll find any type of excuse. These are the Jews and these are like the infidels that was written in the Quran. وَقَضَيْنَا إِلَى بَنِي إِسْرَائِيلَ لَتُفْسِدُنَّ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَرَّتَيْنِ. So pretty much they will do whatever is possible to bring the Muslim world with them and against Iran. Look at them. They literally, Iran and Israel, they're literally tweeting in Arabic. It's like they're talking to us Arabs, although we have nothing to do with them. This war it has nothing to do with us, specifically in the Gulf countries. We stood with Iran like with condemnation, where we will help them even if they want with humanitarian aid, whatever they need. It's because they are being attacked. So we have to stand with the righteous people, and this is why we condemn them.
You don't
And
have
I'm
anything to
very
help
happy.
with. You got
I'm
nothing to
very
help with.
happy.
You align with
Yeah.
Israel. You're traitors.
Okay, we're
Truth
traders.
teller,
Good.
truth teller. Come on. I
Absolutely, you're
don't want to
traitors.
get
You sin
truth
for
teller.
Israel.
So
Truth teller.
one thing I want from my country in
There's
Bahrain
a
to do
big
is not.
difference, truth teller,
Yeah.
between them and Israel.
So
Go,
look,
go ahead, Ahmed.
I want my country not interfere because this Iran is getting like pretty much attacked. I want my country not to help Israel or America with the military bases, with any type of intelligence, nothing. Just let them fight their fight. They entered the hornet's nest. They think Iran is just like the Houthis. They think that Iran is just like Hamas. Those little soldiers that just have like pretty pickup trucks and RPGs. They messed with the wrong people, which are the Iranians. So I really feel like has to be face to face between
Did
Iran and
Bahrain
Israel.
sign off on
And
the Abraham Accord?
yes, we did
Facts.
because we
Yeah,
also
so you
have
normalize
Israel.
relations with Israel. You picked a side.
Good. We also have relations with Iran.
Yeah, so
We're
you
not.
signed
Did we
up. Yeah,
turn
you did.
Shia?
Yeah.
A lot
Well,
of
Truth
speaking
people.
for
teller,
the traitors you are.
truth teller. Look at truth teller. I don't want to get into that argument again because we did that like the last space and it skydived the views. Okay, so let's not get into that debate. You guys had the opportunity to have that debate, right? It was like a 3-hour debate in like the last space. I think that's more than enough. So that's why I want to continue covering the topic. I do not want this back and forth moving forward. So I'm gonna go to you next, but I don't want you to like do this back and forth again. Ahmed's not the president over there. I don't think he can do much of what they're doing over there. So let's stick to the topic. Go ahead. Let's go to Witsit. Witsit, are you there?
Thank you for giving me the
Yeah,
chance.
yeah.
Really, I'm gonna be waiting to hear Truth Teller. Although you
Sure.
disrespected me, I won't
It's my
retaliate.
turn.
I'll
It's
All
my
do it.
right,
turn to
Truth
respond,
Teller
right?
could go first. I'll try to go to him first, but Truth Teller, you didn't unmute. Are you
You
there?
muted me. That's why he was on mute.
Oh,
I wasn't
okay. Go ahead.
silent. Yeah. Okay. So Bahrain is among the various Arab states, Gulf states that have signed off on the Abraham Accords, like UAE's done, like Sudan has done, and others as well, to normalize relations with Israel and acknowledge the genocidal state, and also enable the genocide by helping to breach the naval blockade that Ansarullah had imposed. It's in fact both Saudi Arabia, UAE that continue to steal resources from Yemen, to ship it over to the ports in Bahrain and also in Dubai, and then truck it through into Jordan and into Israel. They're directly aiding and abetting the criminal terrorist state of Israel, and they've normalized relations with them. So anything that comes out of this individual's mouth are complete lies and fabrication. They want to sabotage anything positive that could happen as Iran continues to decimate Israel. They're crying right now, and right now this is just false posturing, pretending like they side. No, they don't. They side with Israel. They simp for the Jews. They always have. These Gulf states sold out a long time ago. They can't build anything. They have to even import their food. We saw what happened to Qatar when they got when there was a naval blockade against them. It was Iran that came to their rescue when it was Bahrain among those other Gulf states that sold out Qatar, and they had to import tons and tons of food from Iran. Otherwise, they starve because they can't even figure out farming. That's how useless and spineless they are, to simp for the Jews on their knees without knee pads, simping for their master Netanyahu and the other Jews that tell them what to do anytime they want. And they also have American bases in Bahrain as well. So while they're helping to breach the naval blockade that Yemen has imposed by helping out the Jews to enable the genocide in Palestine, they come here and pretend like they support Iran. Of course they don't. They'll absolutely allow for their airspace to be used if it was of any benefit, but because of its geolocation, it's just not useful for the time being. But the ports are still useful, and that's why they're still being used. They harbor American bases, and they're a legitimate target. They just fear Iran right now because the U.S. has attacked Iran, and they're not sure if America will come to its rescue, just as America didn't come to Saudi Arabia's rescue after Aramco got hit. So they're shitting in their boots right now, wondering are the attacks going to come from Yemen? And they potentially come from Hezbollah, or will it just come directly from Iran, in which case they're going to choke, because that's what they do. They're going to beg the Jews, please, please give us a lifeline. But in the meantime, Israel's being decimated, just like these terrorist Wahhabi, sick fuck, degenerate human trafficking bastards that are currently in the regimes that suppress the majority of the country, which is Shiites. They're known for actually persecuting the Shiite clerics. They're known for putting all the dissidents in jail. They rule by dictatorial regime. They have no respect for any kind of democracy or even the smaller minorities in the country. They just want to rule by totalitarianism. And they need to be called out. The Gulf states are absolutely a problem, as they're the ones enabling the genocidal state of Israel. And Iran hopefully will deal with that problems once they wipe out the bases that are there. So this way they'll have zero protection, and they'll have to face the wrath and for the crimes that they've committed in selling out the Middle East. Thank you.
Am I allowed to retaliate as well? Because he pointed
You
out a
want to
lot of
retaliate
fake
against me,
ass
buddy? You don't
points
even know how
right
to
there.
All right,
fight.
here's what
All
we're
right,
gonna do, right?
let's go.
We're gonna
I'd
do.
love to take you on in a real
Hold
fight,
on,
but it
guys. We're
fucks
gonna do.
like you
Here's
don't
what
even
we're
know
All
how
gonna
to
do,
fight.
right?
You can't even cook.
All
All
right,
right,
open your
guys.
space and we'll come.
Do you even know
Wait,
how to
can I
Hold
change
on,
your
hold
retaliate?
on,
diapers?
hold on, guys. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do a few rounds, right? And in between the rounds, we're gonna do breaking news, so that we'll count that as round one, right? So let's go to Ahmed to close round one off. Then I got some breaking news. Go ahead, Ahmed.
All right, he made a
Let's
lot of
try.
points.
Let's try to stick. Also, let's try to stick to 2 minutes each
Yeah,
maximum.
sure,
And
no
then
problem.
also in between, I'll be going to other hands too, because it has
Sure,
some
no
other
problem.
hands up.
But like uninterrupted because he will not handle this, okay? This guy's obsessed with us. But here's the thing. He always mentions about these military bases and Americans are like, protecting us. Let's say that's true, okay? I will bring the American and the Israeli and the British. I'm gonna bring all these entities to literally protect me in my country, and I'm gonna be the king living in my own palace. I will bring them just like those Pakistanis and those like Indians that are actually like cheap labor, okay? They both are they have the same type of opposition. They have the same work, is that your job is to protect me and you go wash my feet and you go wash my car and you go cook for me. Everyone is fucking working for me, all right? Here's the thing. When we blockade Qatar, they pretty much actually disrespected us and they funded terrorism in my country. What do you expect us to do? So we don't actually link us with Qatar. Or we actually blockade them for 3.5 years because they were funding terrorism. They overthrew Libya. They were literally funding the Houthis and also the government. They were in the coalition with us again. So here's the thing. You believe Iran is actually going to retaliate on us? Let them try. There's a bunch of military bases here. We, as also Saudi defense minister, 2 months ago, he went pretty much to Tehran and he told the Khamenei, as the letter from King Salman, we will not directly or indirectly enter this war. This is a war between the infidels, or the Jews, and also the mushrikeen, the paganists of Iran. You guys can fuck each other up. We don't give a single damn. We will not enter this war. We will not help. Even the Americans, why did they go to that island, whatever Guam, whatever island. Why didn't they not use the military bases right here? Why did they actually these B4 bombers, two B2 bombers? Why did they go that far to Guam type of island? Why didn't they use the military bases here? Because we told America you cannot use their military bases ever. You cannot do that, and they respected that, and they still didn't use it. They wanted a far ass island in the Indian Ocean. That's one of the reasons we stepped on them and made them actually protect us, and they're just like cheap labor that we get just from Pakistan and India and all and all, Philippines and all these countries. When we actually speak to them, we actually speak to them as allies. But what you see is that they're like our puppets. The Americans themselves are saying that Trump is being a puppet to the Saudis when actually he's going to Saudi Arabia and helping them out. It's the same thing that you guys are doing. It's like the truth teller is the type of guy to really like side with the Americans against us here. We are happy that both Iran and Israel is getting bombed. We don't give a single damn. Israel, I don't need to explain to you why I should be actually against them. But Iran, they funded terrorism in our countries. Why would I cite them? Well, they're actually they killed more. They killed our own people as Sunnis in Syria, Lebanon, more in Iraq, more than actual Israelis. And here's the thing: why why am I personally happy that Israel is just bombing the shit out of Iran and all their nuclear sites and all like that? Iran, without a nuclear bomb, they took over 4 countries and they almost took the 5th one, which is Bahrain. And imagine when they own a nuclear bomb, what are they going to do? So this is a war between the Jews and the Shias. Do not interfere. We are not siding with any of them. Why did we actually just condemn the war, with the condemn attack? Is because Iran got attacked. They're the ones that actually didn't do anything, and Israel attacked them. We have the boss. We condemned them, and that we did that very, very clearly, although we have relations with them. And since the 11th of October, 2023, as the Israeli ambassador is not in Bahrain, he fled and pretty much is back in Israel, and you can actually prove otherwise if you can. You're just a sick fuck that's just jealous of us, okay? And then you should actually come up with better point of views, better logical arguments. You can never actually become one of us, and that's why you're just hating on us. And we will never bend over neither to America, and neither we even stepped on fucking Biden when he said he's gonna make us a pariah. Guess what? Who made him a pariah? Who made him beg and come to Saudi Arabia to suck up and actually beg for a few barrels of oil? We're the ones who actually made Biden to bring up like Olaf Scholz and Macron and bring Boris Johnson to literally beg for MBS for a few barrels of oils, and we pushed them away. We choose pretty much if we're going to bring the Chinese or we're going to bring the Americans or we're going to bring the Russians. It's on us and our money and whoever works for us. These entities, we use them as a bunch of mercenaries and bunch of allies, okay? We buy weapons from them and they actually fulfill whatever we need. For you to say that pretty much we are just countries that are just like sucking up to Netanyahu, then why aren't we allowing them to use our military bases here, the American military bases? We didn't allow them. Proof otherwise. And I'm done. Thank you very much, Muffet.
That's a
I do.
very good point, and we'll get right to
Yeah,
Truth
I'll
Teller right
respond
after
to
I
that.
come up with this breaking news, guys. We have some breaking news coming out right now. We have currently the House Intel ranking member. This is kind of crazy news, guys. The House Intel ranking member says, I learned about this strike last night on Twitter. This just goes further to show how Israel literally controls the entire government. Then he says the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, Republican Jim Hims, says the White House kept him in the dark before the U.S. bombed Iran's nuclear sites, calling the move an enormous gamble, which is factual. So he was left in the dark, guys, by the Israeli genociders who currently own the government, by the AIPAC people. He was left in the dark. He continues to say, I learned about this strike last night on Twitter, which, as you point out, is an uncomfortable thing for the ranking member of the Intelligence Committee. There is a risk of a hornet mad regime that has decided the only way we're going to forestall this in the future is to actually sprint toward a nuclear weapon, which is factual. I mean, that's logical, right? You'd start to think this way if you were being freaking attacked anyway. He says he also admitted he had not seen any intel showing Iran had decided to build a bomb, even as the strikes began. So this is massive, guys. He saw no intel, no kind of proof, no kind of evidence for any kind of reason, any kind of justification as to why Iran should be striked. And so this is massive. And now they basically left him in the dark. Israel's completely controlling the government. So this is huge news, shows a huge hole in the current government. Let's go to Truth Teller to respond, and then we'll open up to some other hands. Go ahead, Truth Teller.
Sure, thanks. I mean, it's amusing to hear this individual cite that Qatar was supporting terrorist groups. It's very amusing to me. Yeah, they were absolutely sponsoring ISIS and Al Qaeda. So was Saudi Arabia, so was UAE, so was Bahrain. They were all doing it, but that wasn't even the cause of the dispute. cause of this dispute was some agreement in 2014. They didn't like where some of the money was flowing to, so you imposed a naval blockade. That's your solution. And meanwhile, he's going to claim autonomy, but we tell them what to do. No, you get told what to do. If you could do what you wanted, you'd build your own weapons, you'd earn autonomy, you'd sell your oil in your own currency. You don't even control your own financial system. You have a terrorist regime in power there that tells you guys what to do. And the minute you speak up, they toss your lousy Arab ass in jail, where you get tortured, where they tell you again what to do. And they'll put you in there without any kind of due process, because that doesn't exist in these totalitarian regimes. They just render you completely helpless, hapless, spineless. And that's why you have to bend over and do whatever you're told. And you told the line. That's why you guys had to normalize relations with Israel, the ultimate sellout nations. You basically sold your souls to the devil. I mean, how much lower can you stoop than acknowledging the Zionist terrorist state of Israel that's currently, the Muslims you claim to care about are currently getting suppressed and killed? There's a genocide being committed by the Jewish state. They've attacked Lebanon, they've attacked Syria, they've attacked now Iran, they've attacked Iraq, they've attacked all their neighbors. And here you are supporting them and enabling their genocide while enabling the breaching of the blockade that Ansar Allah bravely imposed. You guys are the ultimate sellouts to your own ummah. You have no souls. There's a special place in hell for sellouts. God hates sellouts. He hates traitors. That's what all of you guys are. You're barely a minority with an expat community that's built your whole country because you can't build shit. And you're proud of the fact you have to bring in cheap labor to do everything for you, from
Are
washing
your
your ass
cousins one of
to
them?
washing.
Are your
Hey,
cousins
buddy,
one of
why are you
them?
interrupting?
Hold on,
Why are you
Ahmed.
interrupting?
Ahmed, hold
In
on. No
addition to that,
All
interrupting.
right,
We
all
what do
right,
you
didn't
no
spend?
interrupt
problem,
you.
What
no
do you
problem.
spend? What do you spend all your oil wealth on? Are you like developing your industries? Are you learning how to develop your own technology, your own AI? Can you actually manufacture anything, or you just have to import everything, including your food and the diapers you use because you're too lazy or don't even know how to go to the bathroom, or much less operate a bidet? And what are you doing in your spare time with all that cash? You're importing women and alcohol and drugs. You're partying it up and having raves. That's how the Ummah celebrates. Meanwhile, their neighbors next door in Palestine are getting decimated and wiped. What did you do while your neighbors were starving and they were getting killed? You did nothing. You came and you showed hubris, you showed arrogance, you showed the typical Gulf Arab mindset. You're just completely aloof, out of touch. You're just arrogant and you think that you're above all. Look at me, I can hire whoever I want because I've got oil wealth. It's not like you have any earned wealth. This is wealth that came because what God blessed you with under the soil. You didn't invent anything. You didn't contribute anything towards society or humanity other than being a shit stain on the entire region and enabling the genocidal regime in Israel, the mass murder of Palestinians, Lebanese, Yemenis, and others. You also took part in what took place in Yemen, where 400,000 Yemenis were innocently massacred, in addition to the starvation campaign he imposed in there as well. You and the Jews share a lot in common. That's why you're loving this war against Israel and Iran while you sit back and watch. But what you don't realize is you're next, because Iran said every single terrorist state, Gulf state that's enabled Israel is also going to be a target, especially since now your brother, your bodyguard, struck Iran. You're fair game. So enjoy your mansion, enjoy your Rolls Royces, all the shit that you don't know how to build yourself, because your time's limited on this earth. It's a drop in the bucket. You'll soon find out, but it's not for me to say. It's for God's wrath to be unleashed on you through the arms, missiles, and drones of Iran. You'll see soon.
Wow, guys, this is a lit debate. If you're enjoying this debate, I'm going to pass the mic to Ahmed really soon. Hit that repost button. Ahmed, hold on just a little bit. Let's pass the hands around just a bit. Keep what you were thinking in mind. Let's just go to Witsit
And think
really
of your
quick.
harem of little boys and girls that you're going to
Yep.
molest later.
Okay,
Hold
but
on, Truth
where,
Teller,
where
you
is he
can't
from
extend.
at
Hold on.
least? Where is he from? Because I want to diss his country as well. Where is he from?
What do you care where
Some
Guys,
I'm
guys,
shitty
from?
ass
guys,
I'm not
hold
country.
on, guys. Come on, guys. We got to do this. We got to do this like as organized as possible because we have a lot of hands, a lot of requests. Let me go to Witsit really quick. He's been patiently having his hands up, and then we'll go right back to the debate. It'll be Ahmed's turn. Go ahead, Witsit.
I want to know where he's
Yeah.
from too, real
All
quickly.
right.
I
Hold
want
on,
to
Just
do
a
Ahmed.
my
second.
Hold on,
research.
I'm
Ahmed.
not a filthy
Ahmed, what did
shit
I just
stain
say?
Gulf.
Hold on. Ahmed, what did I just say? If you do that one more time, I got to give you the boot, man. You guys got to listen. All right, because we got a lot of listeners in the space. I'm trying to get these views to keep skyrocketing. All right, so let's go ahead, Witsit.
Just saying,
All right.
Mofit, this terrorist supremacist doesn't respect rules.
All right. Just a second. All right. So I want to give a bit of a different perspective here. In my opinion, this has all been planned for years. Kind of taking it all as if it's organically developing in that scenario would be falling for the trick, right? Like I did jump on the night before the attack and say this 2 weeks thing is just total misdirection. There is no 2 weeks. He doesn't need to wait 2 weeks. Well, you have the Jewish witch Laura Loomer jumping out and saying he's been talking to Netanyahu about this strike on the nuclear facility for weeks. And of course they have, because this plan has actually been developing for years. I mean, I would even go as far as this. I think it was like predictively programmed in Top Gun Maverick, which, you know, our ally in the region needed us to go tactically attack this nuclear facility that didn't adhere to international regulations, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so if you at least entertain that perspective, things change significantly. And so I believe that what we're about to see is a major shift to where Israel starts to let a lot more images come out, really play the victim, look like, oh, we're getting destroyed and we're just trying to stand up for freedom. Or you know, the typical thing they always say, right? Okay, so I want everyone to just kind of consider that this is like a long time in the works. I don't even think the Strait of Hormuz is really like a big threat to them. I can totally see Trump coming out and saying, we've already prepped for this. We're ramping up domestic production of oil. We can be completely self-sustainable with oil, you know, America first, blah, 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 like rallying the troops type of thing. I think that all of this is a chess match, and whatever they're saying publicly is strictly propaganda. Fox News and CNN, and even like on all my feeds, if I was on Instagram, if I was on X, whatever, I was getting detailed descriptions of the process of taking out their nuclear facility and what the bunker busters worked like and how all this, right? It's like we got hit with a wave of propaganda, including mainstream media, telling us days before the attack that they were going to do that. Okay, this is all a plan. They're trying to get Iran to bite because they want a regime change. That's what this all is. So I would say, I mean, obviously we need to keep up with the news, whatever. We should always view it from the perspective of, wait, they were talking about the CIA and Mossad, right? We're talking about a government that we can't wait 50 years to see the declassification that this was planned for 10 years and all of this was orchestrated. We have to be able to see through it now. Okay, all that to lead into this. Obviously, we've been talking about how can they get the American public behind this? Because we're clearly all against it. Okay, 85% of us, right? You got the Boomer Zaya, like the guy that was in here earlier, or whatever, but they're very rare. It has to be a false flag and seemingly a domestic false flag. Sure, they can take out that carrier ship that was, you know, scheduled to be decommissioned and whatever. Maybe they do that. Maybe it's many things. But now they have the perfect opening for a false flag, right? Because they can just say it was Iranian retaliation. Everyone's expecting it. Everyone, including this whole room, is sitting here. Is Iran going to retaliate against the US? I think they should just keep attacking Israel. Iran can literally do that. Iran can follow all the rules, follow all the agreements, not make a weapon they're not supposed to. I won't even go down the side rabbit hole of how nuclear weapons are super sketchy when it comes to the official story of them. We'll put that aside, right? It doesn't really matter what Iran does because it just matters what the Western media tells their people. So I think that we're clearly in a situation where they are about to, you know, false flag and say that Iran retaliated, right? And then we'll have direct U.S. involvement. So I would say that's what everyone should prepare for. Just think about it. How could we even? I mean, like Iran would be justified in retaliating in almost any conceivable way at this point, right? Because Trump betrayed them twice. Both times he made public statements. He was lying. He was misleading them. He was deceiving them. So we've completely betrayed Iran. And I would just say be on the lookout for that. And then at that point, everyone, the American public has to see through it. So we have to be wise enough to see through it, not be emotional, and be able to expose whatever the false flag is, whether it's sleeper cells domestically in the US. I think that's probably something it would be because, you know, it's not like we can go look at the missile and see who sent it. And they can just say it was an Iranian sleeper cell. So that's where I think we're at in this whole thing. Yeah. Just to recap and land here, I think Israel's about to roll out all the the media of them being like the true damage being sustained to play the victim card. And then I think that we'll see a big rush of propaganda of how evil Iranians are, or it's like the regime is, and that we need to free the people. And then I expect a false flag to happen shortly. So yeah, I'll land there, but I just think we got to be on the lookout for that.
When you say
U.S.
it's breaking news, real quick, Michelle just said doomsday plane lifted and currently over Midwest.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! What was that, Andrew? So what does that mean in like average civilian terms?
Yeah, I'm not an Air Force expert, Navy here, but anyway, the doomsday plane, and Truth can fill you in on details, but it's a sniffer and also has the people that can call the shots if the United States were ever hit with a nuclear strike.
Oh, wow, that's huge, guys. So things are kicking off in a massive way. Thank you for that, Andrew. That's massive information that just got dropped in this breaking news room. Make sure if you're paying attention right now, guys, you hit that repost button. I got a little bit more breaking news too. Iran allegedly pulling out of Iraq ahead of possible U.S. retaliation, according to informed Iraqi political and security sources. The IRGC is quietly withdrawing advisors from Baghdad. This is the LA News is who are saying it, so take this with a grain of salt. They said the reported evacuation included key zones. So it looks like there's an evacuation potentially going on there. And then we have Saudi calls for restraint after U.S. bombs Iran but won't condemn it. After the U.S. pounded Iran's nuclear facilities, this is according to the Scent Defender, which is, I think, is an Israeli source. Also take with a grain of salt. Saudi Arabia released a carefully worded statement expressing concern and urging all sides to de-escalate. The statement is, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is following with deep concern the developments in the Islamic Republic of Iran, particularly the targeting of Iranian nuclear facilities by the United States of America. The kingdom reaffirms the contents of its statement issued on June 13th, 2025, in which it condemned and denounced the violation of the sovereignty of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The kingdom underscores the need to exert all possible efforts to exercise restraint, de escalate tensions, and avoid further escalation. The kingdom also calls on the international community to intensify its efforts during the highly sensitive period to reach a political solution that would bring an end to the crisis and open a new chapter for achieving security and stability in the region. And this comes from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So this is massive news as well. Saudi Arabia, not condemning it, but also, calling for restraint, calling things to cool down. Let's go to Joa. Joa, did you want to touch on a topic? I think you came up real quick. All right. And then we'll go to Ahmed to respond after. If not, we could go. If Joa's not ready yet, we could go straight to Ahmed. Ahmed, go ahead.
All right, thank you, thank you. About True Stellar, what's up? Okay, so bro, like you're talking like he got oil under his feet and wealth in the passport, but reality, he's typing from a cracked-on Android. Okay, you wake up with water literally shortages and broken like pretty much Wi-Fi. You literally wake up oceans and $1 billion skylines. No, that's us. You pray to pretty much for visa approvals in our countries. Okay, you fly privately, no questions asked. You bow down to us. Okay, you're sweating in the streets, beggars like for your embassy to like help you out. We chilling in Geneva spas with watches that pretty much like cost more than your whole life, all right? You want the golf life so bad and it's eating you alive, and I heard that from you pretty much, okay? You hate because you can't sit in our table. You mock us because also although you copy our slang, you insult our leaders but line up in to visit our countries. I'm sorry, bro, that one of your cousins was my farmer or driver. That's just not my problem, okay? A lot of your countries pretty much leave the fucked up countries. You're talking about these South Asians or Latinos or whatever fucking shitty ass country you got. When poverty is high, you guys don't even have to electricity 24 hours. You leave these countries and pretty much go to the West and live there. Why? Although us Gulf countries, we go and study abroad, okay? But we come back, 100% of us. Why? Is because there's opportunities and dreams here. And that's why you're pissed, okay? That's why you're salty, but you can't be one of us. Like pretty much you call us like pretty much puppets to the US and all that, but your dreams is like to pretty much marry a golf girl, okay? Your dreams is to work in our companies. You beg for our visas. You want to live in our towers, okay, and compounds. The truth is you don't hate us at all, actually. You hate that you're not one of us. You just can't you wrap your head around that. These people like they pretty much believe is that their poverty and how much they live in all those shit is it because of us actually living in a very high way, a high class life. You talk about resistance and pride, but you live in a country that can't build a highway without begging the UN for loans. Okay, we don't get loans. So our government's still trying to fix your sewage. Our government is pretty much like investing in AI and Mars missions and hydrogen cities and football clubs. We're gonna get pretty much our countries, Qatar and Saudi Arabia, inshallah. We got the World Cup here, 2022 and 2034. Okay, we got Expo. Your fridge is empty and our sushi's flown, and pretty much we've flown from Tokyo, bro. You're jealous because your life looks like a fucking blackout. You know there's no future in your life, in your country. Why do you live in the West? Why don't you go back to your shitty ass country? Whatever it is, I don't even know what it is. Our lights in Riyadh to Dubai to Doha to Manama, it's a golden future. The future is here. That's why when Trump, for the second time, for 2017 and 2025, he came to us. You know why? Because the future is here. He didn't go to Mexico. He didn't go to India. He didn't go to China. He didn't go pretty much to Latin America, whatever fucking shitty country you're from. He came to our region. Why is that? It's because we buy their tech. It's because he knows the dreams are here. The opportunities are here, okay? But don't worry, bro. Keep watching the Gulf Rise. We're not stopping, okay? So you mentioned a lot of shit also about Palestine. You're asking what the Gulf did to Palestine. All right, here we don't. First of all, they don't owe us shit, and if we do help them, that's for our goodwill, okay? And we want to help them because they're brothers in Islam, all right? But here's the thing. What did we do to them, okay? Saudi Arabia alone pumped over $60 billion. That's like pretty much you call it from 2000 all the way till 2025. Each day they pumped out $1.2 million to Palestine. Who pays Mahmoud Abbas, Sultan Palestinian, and his all the Palestinian embassies? Who pays for their salaries and all their? It's us. Their whole budget is us here in the Gulf. What does Palestine own? Do they have an economy? No, they do not. So pretty much that's more than most of Arab worlds combined. We build their hospitals. Look how many hospitals pretty much in Gaza got destroyed. It's who built them. There are our princes' names are on those hospitals. We paid their government salaries. We funded reconstruction in Gaza. We even went and some Palestinians actually live in our countries and they have high paid jobs and CEOs and all that because they're brothers of us. You see us as their enemies, although they live in our countries and we help them out in Gaza. But here's the thing. We can't take our own armies and just go and barge in Palestine. Let's go free it up. That's gonna destroy our countries. Look at Iran. They went and actually wanted to free Palestine. Look what's happening to it. We feel like it's a diplomatic way is better, okay? And October 7th, that whatever you're talking about, October 7th is the reason pretty much. October 7th and those Jews, the genocidal maniacs of Netanyahu's government, they're the reason of the genocide and the starvation. Not us. What did I do? Imagine 7 October, Iranians tell the Hamas, let's go attacking Israelis. And after that, when they do that and then Israel retaliates, it's our business. You blame us. You should blame Iran. You should blame those 7 Octobers. You should blame pretty much the Israeli government. Don't blame us. What do we do, okay? One last point,
Is
okay?
it 2 minutes?
Now let's He's talking about what did you guys do, okay? Saudi Arabia's pretty much economy 2016 was 600 billion. Today, it's pretty much 1.2 trillion. We doubled our economy. Was it the help of the Americans? It was the help of the Saudi Arabians and the Gulf countries, okay? We got pretty much the first Arab sovereign wealth fund over 1.025 trillion, okay? We got built Neom, a mega city that's 500 billion. It's in the desert, okay? We own stakes in Nintendo and Uber and Boeing and Lucid and Meta. Aramco is over $2 trillion, okay? Something that we can combine all the shitty ass countries you guys are from, and pretty much that's how the budget is. Investing 300 billion in green hydrogen, EVs and AIs, hosting a World Cup and F1 and esports World Cups, culture and tech, entertainment, all that. UAE is pretty much JDP is actually 47,000. Qatar is the highest actually payroll in the world. Okay, name one country. Where is this guy even from? I have the balls and I'm very confident of my country. That's why I put the flag and all that. I'm very proud of our golf, and they believe that we should move. We should do enough. No, we're not. You guys don't owe us shit. We're not obligated to help you. We came, alhamdulillah, my ancestors, Umar ibn Khattab, we came and conquered your land, and we helped the Jews, and we helped the Muslims, and we conquered, okay, Umar ibn Khattab and pretty much the Aqsa Mosque, and Palestine was one of the territories we conquered in Ma'arakat al-Yarmouk, okay? We actually conquered it, and it was Syria, Jordan, and we protected the Jews, we paid the jizya, and we built. Today there's a Palestinian case because of us. Who sold the Palestine to? It was the Turks, the Ottoman Empire. They're the ones. They're the ones who sold pretty much the Palestine to the British, and then from there there's a Palestine mandate, and pretty much that's how the Israelis actually in the well. One second. So that it's not our problem. And also the only standing actual king the only leader in the Arab world that actually entered a war pretty much with Israel today is King Salman. In 1967, King Salman and the princes in Saudi Arabia and the princes in Bahrain, they actually entered the war, but we didn't enter with our country's name. We entered on behalf of also Egypt's army. King Salman, right here, you can Google that. 1967, he was in actual war. He was a soldier to fight the Israelis with the Palestinians and the Egyptians in 1967. Where are your ancestors? My ancestors conquered Palestine. They pretty much Muslified and Arabized. Today, Palestinians are speaking Arabic. What did you do? You speak so loud. And also, what the Persians do, this is a very sick thing they do. They say, Khaybar, Khaybar, ya Yahud. Khaybar is in Mecca. And whoever actually kicked the Jews from Khaybar and Mecca was the Arab Sunnis, which is us, our ancestors. What did the Persians have to do with this? They were literally worshiping fire at that time, okay? So while you're calling us Gulf U.S. puppets, we bought U.S. companies,
All right,
invested
are we
in your
gonna
tech,
wrap this
okay?
up? Mo,
Yeah,
do
yeah.
you even keep time? He's been going for like
And
5 minutes.
oh, it hurts, right? I know. Shut up
Oh
and
yeah,
mute
it
your mic
hurts.
and
Yeah,
handle
it's
it.
in pain. Yes.
Yeah, guys, let me. Truth Teller's making a good point. I said 2 minutes. Ahmed, you didn't make a lot of points, so I got to give the mic back to Truth Teller now. But before I do so, we got some other breaking news, guys. And breaking news: Iranian media has broadcasted footage of Israel's Dimona nuclear reactor threatening to attack it. So things are heating up in a massive way, guys, in a huge, huge way. We're still covering breaking news. That's the most recent breaking news. So stay tuned because something's about to turn up here. Truth Teller, mic to you. I think it might be a double
You
mute.
can,
Yep.
yeah, I know. You can minimize that, but not just keeping it on mute the whole time and unmute it before you finish talking. Just a tip. So, like, I mean, the level of delusion and hubris of this individual was just maybe even completely forgotten what it's like to be a normal human being, if he ever even knew what it was, because he was likely just raised with a silver spoon in his mouth. He's so proud of materialism, the watches you have, the high rises, the mansions you live in, the fancy sushi you have to import because you don't know how to make it, the food you have to import because you don't know how to farm, and the industries you lack. So therefore, you have to rely on skilled labor or even basic labor to get anything done. And you're proud of that. You're bragging about it like that's something worth mentioning. All derived from what? Oil sales? Because you have zero industry other than oil sales, and even that, you needed help to build that and maintain it even now. So I'm not sure where all this bragging and hubris comes from. Your points on Palestine, you signed off on the Abraham Accords. You officially sold out. You recognize Israel as a state while you watch Palestine get decimated. And what, because you write a few checks towards support, which Israel ends up stealing anyway, and you're proud of that? You think that's helping anyone? It's not helping anyone. You guys have sold out officially, and you're watching a genocide happen and a famine happen, and little kids get blown up while it's Iran that's fighting the war. And all you went sectarian? Cool. I can go sectarian.
What do you want us to do? What do you want us to
Be
do?
quiet. But hey, why are you interrupting?
Hold
I
on,
interrupted. You
Ahmed.
went on for
Ahmed, he
5
didn't
minutes. No one
interrupt
Okay,
you.
no
interrupted you.
problem.
You couldn't
Tell him.
even.
What do you want?
You couldn't
No
even last. You
interrupting,
couldn't even
Ahmed.
last
Ahmed, I
1
have to
minute
mute
with
you.
your
No
low impulse
interrupting. Come on.
control. Listen, go molest your little boys and girls, which is what you little Gulf state Arabs like doing because you're bored. You have too much time on your hands. You like to go out and drink, get high, smoke your opium, and you molest your little kids and do your human trafficking. That's what you guys are all about. You literally have representatives in different countries around the world in Europe, so you can find young girls to import, offer them thousands of dollars so you can take shits on them. That's what you guys are known for. So literally on Instagram, they talk about what you Gulf state Arabs, you sick fucks do because you're bored with your time. You know, you're not. Most of you are crypto Jews as well, by the way. You actually have your occultic practices, and it's funny to me how you mentioned that the Persians worship fire. What were the Arabs doing at that time before the prophet came around? They were worshiping idols. They were idol worshippers. Were they any better? Is that at least they believed in one God, right? They were monotheists. They were Zoroastrian. You guys were fucking idol worshippers, and you actually opposed Islam when it first started. You tried to kill the prophet numerous times as well. You opposed him. Did you forget that? You wiped out his whole family. You guys are mass murdering thugs. You always have been. You have no problem taking other Muslim lives. You invented ISIS. You invented Al Qaeda. You supported and funded them. It was Qatar and Saudi Arabia that funded ISIS and Al Qaeda that goes out and kills more Muslims. You know who they never attack? They never attack Israel. And the one time they did by accident, they apologized. They apologized to the Jew because they simped for the Jew. They signed off on the Abraham Accords to, again, bend their knees and bow down for the Jew. When they come around and bark at you, you ask them, how high should I jump, master? Because that's who you guys are. You're the laughing stock of the world. Zero industry, zero ability, zero qualification for anything. Who would ever hire you? What happens if the oil wealth ever runs dry? God forbid you have to get a real job and you have zero skills. You went to school to learn what? To get some arts or poli-sci degree to come argue with me, which you're not even doing a good job of. You're sitting there boasting about your ill-gained oil wealth, like you worked, like you had to work to get it. Everything's handed to you. You get free land, you get free healthcare, you get free education, you get dividends from oil profits. Well, you get paid to get married multiple times over. You get paid to have multiple kids. What do you pay for? What do you actually earned in your life? Zero. But you want to boast that you have a watch that's worth more than my life. That's your claim to fame, materialism. Is that the reflection? Is that what you want to go and tell your creator on the day of judgment? Hey, Lord, look at the watch I have. Look at all the materials I've gained. Guess what? You don't get to bring any of that stuff with you to the afterlife, which you don't know or care about, just like the Jews you represent. In fact, the way you speak, your arrogance, your supremacy, you sound exactly like a Jew with supremacy built within you. But I guess that's how Wahhabism works. You think you're better than everyone else, and the Jews are the ones who crafted that ideology for you. Most of you actually descend from crypto Jews, from the Jewish tribes at the time of the prophet, around 600 AD. So it's really not surprising that you and the Jews have so much in common. You'll sit around and you'll wipe out other countries. You'll go to Yemen and decimate 400,000 people. You'll send your ISIS Al Qaeda armies into Syria to wipe out that country as well, and then blame Iran and Russia and others for your own crimes. And you think anyone believes it? You want to blame Assad when it was you guys that installed HTS? It was you guys that supported Al Julani with a $10 million bounty on his head? And it's MBS with his hand on his heart thanking Trump. Oh, thank you so much for removing the sanctions, because otherwise he was too pathetic, too useless, too spineless to figure out how to develop his own industries to circumvent sanctions and figure it out for themselves. But I guess that's a reflection about how Wahhabism and you sick fuck Sunni supremacists work. You're useless, you're spineless, you need American help, you need NATO's help to be able to do anything, to be able to fund anything, to be able to even think for yourselves. You sell your oil in US dollars, you have no industry, you have to import all your arms, you have to import your own food, you wouldn't even know where to flush the toilet if your servant didn't tell you, if it didn't do it for you. Your place would stink like the shit that you like to shit on with the women that the prostitutes you bring in while you're smoking opium together. That's your pastime. You like to hang out with hoes, you like to party, you like to smoke up, you like to drink. You've never had a real job in your life, and you want to sit here and thumb your nose down because you've got a fancy watch, fancy cars, and a fancy mansion, and you want to flex with ill-gotten gains from oil sales. That's it. You're the laughing stock of the world. But the thing is, you don't even have the self-awareness to realize it. You think that people are actually impressed when you boast and you exhibit your hubris. People are laughing at you. You don't even realize it. And that's why when you go onto those Israeli spaces, you're hanging out with guys like Ariel. You and him see eye to eye. They look down on you. You're their fucking bitch. They look at you and they're steamrolling over you like, fuck, these Arabs are so fucking stupid. We can sit there and kill their neighbors, impose famine on them, and the only thing they come back is, what do you want us to do? We're weak. We don't have our own armies. We don't have our own weapons. We can't go and attack. Well, you know how to fund a proxy army to go and kill other Muslims, though. You're a specialist at killing other Muslims, destroying Muslim mosques, destroying Muslim hospitals and schools because you want to go and install your own shit so you can spread your sick, filthy Wahhabi faith because you think it's better than the rest. Even in Africa, you're doing that shit. You came into Burkina Faso. What did you offer? Did you offer to build any schools, hospitals, or anything useful? You're like, no, let us build our mosque so we can spread our filthy ideology. But then, of course, with you Jews, Wahhabis, you're all one of the same. Every accusation is a confession. You're like, oh, Iran wants to spread Shia faith. Meanwhile, it's you guys trying to spread your filthy faith because you're supremacists, you think you're better than the rest, and that's how you're able to recruit ISIS Al Qaeda agents to go out and mass murder other Muslims and Christians as well. You've wiped out churches. You don't even have respect for the dead. You went and desecrated Bashar al Assad's father's grave. Like, who the fuck does that? You think that that's your faith? You don't respect those who are alive. You don't respect those who are dead. You don't even respect yourselves. You're human trafficking, mass murdering thugs. You have no problem wiping out especially Muslim and Christian lives, while you simp for the Jews. You've picked a side in life, the world sees it, and that's why I'm here to call it out. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you for that, Truth Teller. Let's take a slight break. Let's go to Joa real quick. Go ahead, Joa.
Yeah, hey Mofit. Can you hear me? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Um, Look, I've had a lot of discussions with Ahmed. I don't know how, but he's able to be
Of
rooted
course
and
you have,
Trump
Joa.
on this space. Yeah, I agree with him on some stuff, but he keeps conflating Bahrain with Saudi Arabia. When he says we did this, we did that, he's talking about Saudi Arabia. That's not his country. Bahrain, which I was just in not long ago, 2 3 months ago. Yeah, you go around areas like Manama where they have the F1 race. Great. You go to the Sunni, the Shia villages. You see heavy police. You see walls being built. It is basically not very different than what Israel does, right? They're very discriminated against. Heavy police force. All you see is graffiti, like revolutionary graffiti, because they're oppressed. It's not much different. But this fuck wants to make it seem like Saudi Arabia is Bahrain. No, Saudi Arabia is not Bahrain. And for what Witzik said earlier, he said this seems like it was written 10 years ago. No, this was written in 1996. And if anyone doesn't know who Richard Pearl is, they shouldn't be talking about the subject, because Richard Pearl was the Secretary of Defense of the U.S. and also a consultant to the Israeli Defense Force, who wrote the Clean Break Doctrine for Netanyahu, who, on his list of countries that they need to attack, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Iran, and guess what? Saudi Arabia. Okay, so Saudi Arabia is next, and you guys don't get it. And Ahmed wants to play a blind eye because he has a nice fat pocket right now. But guess what? You're not Saudi Arabia, and you will be next. And you can laugh all the fuck you want, but that's exactly what's going to happen, because then there's no one left to have to create disruption in the area. If the regime changes in Iran, guess who's exactly like Iran? Who oppresses women? Who oppresses people? Who has a lot of the same policies Iran does that the West hates? Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia is the only one left on the clean break doctrine that has not been fulfilled yet. So bye-bye, Bahrain. We'll see what happens.
So is it my turn?
Wow,
I have to
guys.
reply to two
Joel
guys.
has entered the chat. Joel has entered the chat, guys. Alert. We got Ryan Dawson here
What
too.
are you
Big
gonna
time shout
respond
out.
to? Go molest your
All
little
right, is it
boys and
my
girls.
turn? I got
Go smoke your
one
opium.
Real quick, guys. Real quick. Come on, guys. I have to do the breaking news too. So really quick, guys. There's some more breaking news, and then we'll pass the mics around. We'll let Ahmed respond real quick, and then we'll go to Ryan Dawson. Big time shout out. Make sure Ahmed though you keep it 2 minutes though, because Ryan's a busy guy,
All
so
right, all
I
right,
don't
it's
want
all
him
good.
like dipping out of here. So hold on, guys. Let me cover the breaking news. We got Iran intends to carry out surprise operations against Israel while continuing to monitor U.S. bases in the region. Iran's strategy is that America's intervention should not hinder, basically their back and forth thing that's going on right now. So we're getting some reports that's Iran's plan is just to, basically like surveil the bases but not attack them. They're still focused on retaliating against Israel, which is a smart decision. And we also have the IDF dropping some satellite footage as well. Iran dropping some satellite footage as well on each other's nuclear sites. We have an advisor, Iranian advisor. The game is not over after U.S. strikes. He says, even assuming that the nuclear sites are completely destroyed, the game is not over. So it's far from over. They're going to seek retaliation. Iran has officially also closed the door on diplomacy after U.S. strikes. They said Israel used Donald Trump as a disguise, and that they have a very hard time trusting them after they got snaked by Donald Trump and Israel, which is very reasonable. Otherwise, Ahmed, let's get a response in 2 minutes. Then I'm
All
gonna have to
right.
stop you because I want to go to Ryan Dawson as well.
No problem.
So what
You
kind
know
of
when
wife do you have anyway? Since you
look,
brag so much.
none of your business. None of your business, and listen, okay? I'm sorry that your cousin is a
No,
farmer.
but you said your
This
watch
is
is worth more than
shut
my
up,
life.
shut up, shut up. Okay, so this is what I'm hearing, like what I'm
Just want to
listening
know
to
what my
both,
life's worth.
because I want when I'm listening to both of them, they're like these, like it's like I'm driving my Ferrari past, like the driveway, and they're just like these guys, like just washing, like the washing the neighbor's car, and so salty that I don't own this wealth, and I'm like, what's up with you naming all the wealth that we had? I'm sorry that your father, your country, your government is so uncivilized, uneducated, pretty much didn't give you all the services that we have. When we get pretty much free electricity, when we get, I'll tell you about why we actually pretty much like love our leaders. Free electricity, free water, we don't pay for that. Free college, free schooling. They give us all the stuff that we love, okay? And as soon as we graduate, we get a job. Unlike you, that you have to go pass by, actually fly from fucking Mexico or Pakistan, some shitty ass country, go to pretty much like the UK or America. We don't have to leave. We have to come back. Like pretty much, this is how he's salty. It's like you're nothing but a salty driver and a broke farmer hating for the sidelines, mad as hell seeing a Golfie roll past his Ferrari, or you mentioned that Ferrari cars, your buildings, or whatever. That's you. You're looking at how about you educate educate yourself? How about you build your own country? How about you actually look after yourself? Maybe you'll reach our position, okay? I'm sorry that I'm a higher class than you, okay? But here's the thing: is that Saudi Arabia and the Gulf, and my mom is Saudi Arabian. That's why I'm speaking on the name of Bahrain and Saudi Arabia and all the Gulf, because we're all connected. My tribe is actually going back to actually Saudi Arabia. We moved from Saudi Arabia pretty much 250 years ago with the royal family. We moved from Saudi Arabia. We went to Qatar. We went pretty much like to Bahrain. And my mom is Saudi Arabian and my father's Bahraini. So I have to speak on both of them because you attacked Saudi Arabia. If you were speaking about Bahrain only, we could have discussed it. You brought MBS, so I'm gonna wipe you all over. I'm gonna show you some stat. Saudi Arabia and the Gulf have poured more into
All
Muslim.
right, time. All right, Ahmed, time.
Wait! I
So
just
that was
started. Give
interesting
me
back
2
and
minutes more.
forth.
That's not fair. You gave them more time. That's
After
just
that
because
was
he's
3
your
minutes.
friend, you're doing
No,
that.
I gave you. Hold on, Ahmed. I gave him more time because you went very long on your time before the last time. You went like 4 or 5 minutes, and you were able to do that because I was in the DMs. That's why I
Ahmad,
gave
you're
Truth Teller some time.
superior. You're
So guys, let's go to Ryan Dawson though, because Ryan Dawson's usually short on time, and I'd like to hear his take. Welcome to the space, Ryan Dawson. I mean, any thoughts on what's going on right now? Feel free. Is Ryan there? Or do you guys hear him?
Can I reply later on then? Can I wait for my turn? Because I feel like I
Yeah,
didn't
later on.
abuse him
We'll
enough.
continue.
bitch.
I
It's
feel
my
like I
turn.
didn't abuse him enough, really, bro.
But
Feel like, look at this guy in his feelings already, like a
we'll
little girl.
continue, guys. We'll
Tone
continue. But I
down,
wanted
buddy.
to go to
I'll
Ryan
be
Dawson.
waiting for my turn if you're friend. No
Hello?
problem. All
Yeah,
good.
you wait
All right,
like a
now we
little
can hear
bitch.
Ryan.
Back the line, bitch.
Hold on. Now we can hear Ryan. So Ryan's gonna speak, guys. Don't interrupt him or you're getting booted. Go ahead, Ryan.
Just to correct some things that were said, like it was partially correct. I don't know who was saying, but Richard Pearl was not the Secretary of Defense, but he was the chairman of the Policy Advisory Board on the Defense for Policy under Donald Rumsfeld. Saudi Arabia is not on the list from Wesley Clark, so I don't know where that came from. They would never be on that list. Like the Wahhabis and the Zionists are on the same side, so like that's who paired up. When the first Gulf War, I mean, who is Saddam shooting scuds at? Saudi Arabia and Israel. He knew exactly what was up. So that is completely wrong. As far as the clean break paper, yeah, he was an author of that. Yes, that was in '96. The rest of the stuff was right. I don't know what the other two are arguing about Ferraris and watches, whatever. It's just fucking who cares? Like, oh, hooray, you're sitting on oil. Good job. Like, fucking, it doesn't take anything to do that. I'd rather focus on Iran. Like, they're putting out pictures of Dimona. That fucking makes the hair on my arm stand up. Tag it. I can't wait. Iran needs to focus on just bombing Israel, bomb Israel until it looks like Gaza. That's what they need to do. Don't take the U.S. as bait. They're goading you, trying to get you. I mean, this feel-good reaction. If you start messing with the United States, you don't own the media. They will start the story in the middle and act like, oh my God, they sank our boat, blah, blah, blah. The U.S. is so desperate to have a boat sunk that they faked it in the past. They did it with the Gulf of Tonkin. They did it with the Lusitania. They did it with the USS Maine. So this is what they do. Don't take the bait. Bomb Haifa until it looks like Gaza. And it's these debates about like, I don't know, wealth and stuff, but that's just petty. Who gives a fuck? Especially if it's unearned.
Right.
Ahmed, did he respond?
If all you got to do is backdoor your neighbors to make wealth, people don't respect that these days.
Facts.
I mean, a whore can become a millionaire by having a butthole and a web camera. Like it doesn't. Like wealth does not equate to like academic or intellectual skill or anything. It's just like whatever's in demand. And there are a lot of things that make money that are just degenerate and disgusting, and it's just not something that's on everybody. It's the top of everybody's value tree. It's just something that has no intrinsic ability themselves for self-worth to point to. Can look at what they own.
Well, also Islam dictates that as well, that money shouldn't be a primary factor, and haram activities and halal activities. So I'm not sure what version of Islam and brothers in Islam we're talking about here.
I don't understand. Like Venezuela also has like the biggest reserve in the world, oil. But look at them; they're very poor. Look at
Because
Algeria;
they're
they
sanctioned
have.
and because they try to do regime changes
Algeria
there.
is not
Be
sanctioned.
quiet.
Iraq
You
is not
talk. I can go
sanctioned.
through each one
There's
of
a
you.
lot of
It's not your
shit. We
turn to
have
speak.
wise, actual
Hey,
leaders
Mocha,
that
it's
build
my
our
turn to
country
respond to his
and
bullshit,
invested.
to his Ferrari and
Oh,
watch
so you're
talk.
getting some Oh,
Wait, whose turn was it? Truth Teller, you're saying it was your turn? All right.
actually, I didn't finish to what he got to
All right.
say.
Oh
Come
yeah,
on,
you know what
I
it
have not
was. You know
finished.
what it was, because I remember Ahmed, you were arguing with me on the last one. It is Truth Teller's turn.
That's right,
Ryan
bitch. Back of the
Dawson,
bus.
I
Let's
think
go.
But
Chop
no,
Ryan.
chop.
actually, it was my
Back
turn
of
Hold
the
because I
on,
didn't
guys.
finish.
I think Ryan just dropped us. So Ryan, if you want to come back, I'll send you an invite right now. If not, no worries. Thank you for coming in and sharing that. Guys, though, let's go to Truth Teller. He
But
was the
Ryan's
one who
point
was
is on
next.
point that
So,
it needs to continue
oh yeah, that was
focusing on.
absolute
We need
facts.
to keep focusing on Israel.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, that was absolute facts and an absolute great breakdown by Ryan there. Let's go ahead to Truth Teller to respond. Go ahead, Truth Teller. And guys, make sure to hit the repost button.
Come on, crash and cry about our wealth. Come on, you
Hey,
can start.
be
I'm sorry
quiet.
that you're
Back of the
forced.
bus. Be quiet. See, there you have it. Can you
Come
mute
on.
this guy?
Oh
He
man,
can't even
it
respect the
really is
space.
gross. This focus
Can you read
Typical,
this guy?
It really
typical
is
Why are
gross.
you
pussy
crying, bro?
Wahhabi Arab. There's no respect for human
Mention
life.
something
No
without.
dignity. Be quiet. Just you're gonna have to drop this guy. He's a very low impulse control. Typical of his Jewish behavior.
You're
He's a
jealous and I'm
supremacist.
salty, bro. That's
Jealous, salty. Yeah, okay, okay. That's what the Jews say. You're jealous of us. You
mention
want to.
something far
Can
away
you?
from wealth.
Okay.
I dare
Can you
you.
shut the? Okay,
Ahmed,
you're gonna have to drop this
come
guy. He
on. If
doesn't
you do it
respect the
again, I'm
space. He's
gonna have to
interrupting.
drop you, Ahmed.
Just drop
You're
this.
not being fair. I
Drop
didn't
this.
finish. You
Oh, it's
gave him all
not
the time in the
fair. It's
world.
like the
No,
Jew
Ahmed,
Just
you've
cries.
been
because
a
he's
long
your
He
time.
friend,
strikes you and
then
then
I'll
he
allow it.
cries.
It's all good.
Listen, he's a typical Wahhabi terrorist, crying. You know, trying to play it up like you're jealous of. Why would I be jealous of you? Look at your face. Who the fuck wants to look like you or be like you and wear a dress
Because it was
out in
about
public?
politics and you
Hey,
brought
he's
wealth into it,
interrupting
so you're
again.
jealous.
He's interrupting again. It's like you got Mo. You got to enforce the rules. Otherwise, well, what kind of space is this?
All right,
He's
look at
interrupted
Ahmed.
at
Bro,
least 5
stop
times.
bitching
He's
around and
still doing it. He's
respond.
still
What the
doing it.
hell?
Ahmed, one last time, I'm gonna have to, cause
Dude,
like
you're gonna
it's
have to
not a
drop
good
this guy
listening
because he doesn't
experience.
respect the space.
Even if you want to argue about the time, he still wasn't interrupting you, so you can't interrupt him now. Go ahead, Truth Teller.
I'll wait for my
He's
turn.
still fucking doing it. Well, then do it. You don't need to announce it. So look, what's amusing to me with these Gulf states, they're gonna brag about their wealth, but what do they do with it? They build up these massive sovereign wealth funds, and then Trump comes knocking on the door. He says, "Okay, you're gonna buy our arms. You're gonna invest in these companies. You're gonna allow for Palantir to come and install data centers, so this way you can continue to surveil and do our bidding." Once again, the imperialists show up. They bark at the Gulf states, and the Gulf states respond with, "How high should we go?" And they're told to sell their oil in US dollars and sign off on a 50-year petrodollar agreement. You know what's amusing to me is how that agreement even started. Because if you recall, at one time, there was an Arab leader who had some balls in his spine, King Faisal. When he imposed the oil embargo, what happened there? 6 months later, he gets assassinated by his nephew. So there was one Arab leader that stepped up. They taught him, they showed him what happened, and since then they've all been cowards. They've never stood up. You know what he said? Actually, that Arab leader, he's like, "It's you Westerners that need to live in your area. You need the oil, to support your lifestyles. Not us. You came from tents. You were back-ass words, Bedouins living off the fucking ground. You had no fucking civilization. You were living off filth. That was your contribution to humanity. You never invented shit. You never contributed to shit. You're living on gravel. You're living in tents, and you're eating like raw, unprepared foods. Living in like mud huts. Might as well be like sub-Saharan Africa with your low IQs because you couldn't figure anything out for yourselves. It was the British who had to come in and discover oil, and the Americans who had to build Aramco for you, so you could actually generate any wealth to brag about all the wealth you claim you have and all the buildings that have been built by others. You've contributed nothing. You live in glass houses and you sit there and you want to throw rocks because now you're sitting on a bunch of cash and that's your claim to fame because you have a fancy watch to drive a Ferrari and think people are salty and jealous of that shit. If materialism must drive you, then it's really an empty life you live. You're having to fulfill your time with what? Whores and little boys that you human traffic. So then while you're doing drugs and drinking and doing your parties and wishing you go to another rave. That's what you guys crave. Now you just want to modernize society because the Saudi Arabia's already sold out. They're already doing the raves, or you've already you had one thing going. At least you had some control on women. Now they can drive and do whatever they want. They can be whores, and you can bring in what Shakira to shake her ass. You're proud of that? Seriously? And then this is like the Muslims. You sitting there partying while Palestinians are being genocided and starved to death. And the same with the Lebanese. You don't have any armies to fight with. You can't even defend yourselves. When Aramco got struck, what did you guys do about it? Nothing. You came to the table and negotiated a ceasefire agreement while UAE scooped up Socotra. You couldn't even get that. So it just goes to show Saudi, whether you're Saudi, Bahraini, you're Qatari, or whatever you are, you're a bunch of useless twats. It's the same with Kuwait. When it got invaded by Saddam, what did you do? You needed America's help to liberate it because you guys can't even defend yourselves. You're pathetic losers. You sell your dollar. Don't forget, you sell your oil in dollars. You invest your net profits in U.S. companies. You don't develop your own industries, and you're living in glass houses thinking you're tough because you have fancy cars that you don't make and fancy watches you don't even need to tell the time anyway because you have nowhere to be. You have nothing to do. That's where you're hanging here arguing with me. So, like again, this is a waste of space and a pointless argument. If you like, we can focus on Iran. Thank you. Because that actually matters. Unlike the Gulf states,
Oh, don't
they're just
run, don't
away.
run away.
Okay,
I'm
here,
gonna
run
wipe
away
you on
from
the
who?
floor. No, we're
You?
not switching
Run
to
away from
Iran.
Alright.
you?
Why are you
No,
Who the
scared,
fuck
bro?
is
he
I'm
you?
gonna
ran away
reply to
for a
Who
you.
the
Why are you
fuck
reason.
is
He
scared?
ran
scared of
away
you?
for a reason.
I
No, no,
heard you
Who
the
the
guys,
fuck
whole
he's
is
not
scared
running
of
time,
you?
and
away.
now
He's
you're
not
gonna.
running
I'm gonna
away.
teach you a lesson.
Oh, you're
Ahmed,
gonna you don't
we'll
you don't
let
know
you
anything to
respond.
teach. You're too fucking stupid. You're a dumbass fucking low IQ Wahhabi
Anyway, so
bitch.
is it
You're
my
America's
turn to
bitch.
wipe
You're
him over the
Israel's bitch.
floor?
You have
Alright.
nothing
All
to
right,
teach.
Alright,
Dr.
here's
Hood,
what
give
we'll
me
Go
a
on your
do.
whip.
fucking knees
Here's
and
what
No,
we'll
no,
beg
I
do.
baby
need to.
Yah will
I need
just
to.
throw
I
you
need
a
to do
bone.
that.
Is
I
is
know
it
how to
You
my
do
is
it.
it
fucking
my
dog.
turn? Yes or no?
Hold on, guys. I had to do this. I hate to do it. I really do, but I just want the space to be as clean as possible, right? So, guys, we're gonna go. I got a new speaker on stage. I want to hear a new voice, and then we'll go to you, Ahmed, as well. But you have someone to back you up. I know you don't need backing up. You're going head to head, but I want to hear Dr. Hotha. I hope I'm saying your name right. If not, sorry. I want to hear from you because you seem to be. You're saying you're a Saudi national. So, so yeah, feel free to go ahead. I want to hear from you, and then we'll
Yeah, I
have
know
True
they.
Teller respond, and then Ahmed will go to you next. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, thank you, thank you. So, first off, I want you to save us the outrage. You always do this. You pretend to cry for the Palestinians. Okay, so while your own stupid ass regime funds hell and sectarian wars all over the region, it tore apart Iraq, it tore apart Syria, it tore apart Lebanon, it tore apart Yemen. Okay, your IRGC turned the Palestinian blood into fucking bargaining chips. Okay, into a nuclear negotiation. You don't get to talk. Okay, spare us the lecture. Now you talk about Saudi and the Gulf. I think he mentioned that we don't have any armies and we didn't invent anything. Well, I mean, when you look at we didn't just invent the culture. We invented a civilization. Okay, this civilization came from our land. If you forgot about the little thing called Islam, and it spread the spread of the Arabic language, the inventions and the golden age that came from people that came from the peninsula. Now, if you I mean the only reason your militia exists is because your army is too weak to fight a real war. Okay, you hide behind these proxies. Okay, because you know that direct confrontation would collapse your economy. It would expose the paper tiger that the Iranian military is. Okay, please do not forget that when Qasem Soleimani tried to play, this tough guy, this empire builder. Okay, he ended up, 6 feet under. Okay, so you also think that alliances is something weak or something stupid. This is called something you don't understand. It's called strategy. It's called diplomacy. Okay, which what you call weakness. It's called intelligence. Okay, so unlike your stupid ass regime, we didn't throw our young people, we didn't throw others' young people, okay, into proxy wars of a fucking fantasy of reviving a stupid ass Persian Empire, which we destroyed 1,400 years ago. Okay, so look at our countries now, and look at your stupid ass country, Qatar, the small little country of Qatar that has 300,000 nationals, is the size of the economy of Iran. Okay, so I mean, if it's a question about who won and who lost, you lost. Not only did you lose thousands of years ago, but you lose again. Okay, so now he said something about Kuwait needed help, or yeah, of course, yeah, that's what alliances are for. Okay, we get it because the world trusts us, because the world respects us, because we are a reliable partner, because we're not run by crazy mullahs. Okay, so I mean, listen, your
30 seconds,
leaderships
doctor.
left your people, sure, left your people to die under rebel. Okay, while we build futures for our own people. So I mean,
Mom. Nobody interrupt or you will be booted. Alt Mom, go ahead if you're there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep.
Just letting things cool down a little bit.
Jerusalem is salty.
Is it just me or
Damn,
did
man.
she go mute?
Dude, you sound
No,
like such a fag. High pitched voice.
Hold on, guys. What did I just
I'll
say?
donate $200 for you. Give me.
Hold on, guys. What did I just say? She just lost connection for like 2 seconds, and you guys are going at it. Nobody disturb until she's fully landed the plane, and then I've said, okay, let's go back to the debate. All right, I haven't done that yet, so let's go back to Alt Mom again. I think she got her connection back. She just lost it momentarily. Alt Mom, are you there now? And guys, make sure to hit the repost button too. Go ahead,
yeah,
Alt Mom.
I'm here. So I have a couple of things that I wanted to chime in on, but I'll keep this short and sweet so you can go back to the debate. I'm starting a homestead right now in the United States, and there's a couple of different ways that I can go about it. And the question is, what is most important right now if we're under this imminent kind of threat, right? Are we looking at long term or short term? Simon, I was listening to you earlier, and I kind of listen to what you're saying because I know you're very knowledgeable in some of the areas that I'm following the closest. And one of the things you mentioned was if they shut down the Strait, it should only be a few days. Otherwise, they're really going to piss off China, and that would absolutely cut off their flow of imports. So when we're looking at imminent in the United States, and I know that we're not looking at imminent attacks on our bases necessarily unless it comes from within, correct? It would be religious kind of driven inside the United States is what I'm feeling. So if you were on a homestead, what would be your first priority for your community?
Simon, you there?
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead.
So firstly, I'm not expecting. I just think it would be such a strategic mistake from Iran to actually go down this route of shutting off the Strait. It's really a weapon. I just think it's such a bad move at the moment. And I also think that anything to do with striking U.S. Targets is a complete mistake. It's trying to divert attention away from the primary strategy that Iran should be doing, which is what everyone's aligned around. That if we can, if Iran can turn Israel into a distressed asset, then the opportunity to reshape the region is in everybody's best interest. So Israel is the problem. And Iran right now, based upon the way that this has turned out, has the opportunity to continue to, in retaliation for everything that's happened to Iran right now, which is a rare situation to be able to retaliate to, has the right to defend itself from Israel and keep hitting strategic targets, do more of what it's been doing, carry on doing what it's doing. And that is, what it's been, I think, bait and switched away from. And Iran shouldn't take the bait. It should carry on doing exactly what it has been doing. And this has the potential to really reshape the region. So I'm not expecting anything to change there. But as I said, if the Strait strategy does happen, expect a really big increase in the price of oil and immediate reaction in the financial markets next week, and a return to inflation, and pretty rapid inflation as well, followed by economic decline, which would be stagflation. And how you protect yourself from that, you need to own hard assets. Because it's only going to be hard assets that are going to be able to sustain past that. But I think it's, I don't think there's any point preparing for something that's I don't think is going to happen. But yeah.
Do you believe? Sorry, go ahead. Do you believe that this may be the opportunity that China and Russia is waiting on for our defenses to be focused in the wrong areas and for us to hit that financial collapse and be
No, it's
an
gonna
imminent danger?
impact. Yeah, it's gonna impact China just as much. Like this is not something China wants to happen. A spike in the price of oil. You know, everybody's feeling the fact that we're in a global recession right now. China can sustain itself. It's going to win the trade war. Trade war. There's no doubt about it. It's already won, in fact. But global demand, shut it. You know, slowing down a global demand is going to be bad for everybody, including those selling oil at higher prices. If the demand for oil starts decreasing because we enter into a global recession, you know, and you know that's the increase in the price of oil is not going to compensate for the decrease in demand if we carry on down this route. So this is not good. It's not good for China. Um, while you know, those are oil and gas producers, they can compensate to a certain degree, but everyone wants demand. Demand is the real, you know, is the real growth and the real opportunity here. And if Iran can strategically vassalize and weaken Israel right now, the opportunity for growth is endless in the fallout, you know, from this afterwards. So no, I don't
Correct.
think this is a China strategy. I don't think BRICS wants the Strait to be closed down. I don't think America wants the Strait to be closed down. I don't think anyone in the region wants the Strait to be closed down. And I don't think it will help Iran because 80% of its imports have to come through there, including drugs and various other essential things. But it is a nuclear option, and it's the last resort. So, and I don't think we're at the last resort right now because Iran has a very a brilliant strategy, and it should carry on with that strategy. And it's got the majority of support behind it when normally that support's not there because there's all sorts of, you know, other geopolitics going in. But this is the most amount of support around a common enemy that is causing absolute devastation and has been genociding the Palestinians for 600 days. And everyone wants to put an end to that. And this is the way to put an end to it.
I agree. So, in closing, I just want to say that if I was going to kind of visualize what the future may look like right now, I could definitely see a cyber attack happening. I can see a global blackout or a partial blackout here in the US. The fingers would probably be pointed at Russia. I see an alignment coming in with us and with China. I see the digital currency ecosystem becoming the main currency ecosystem, and I see anyone that is in charge of the solar and energy that's here in the United States. I see them coming in and capitalizing on the new energy plays. And with China owning as much of our farmland as they do, we would have no choice but to go ahead and collaborate with them and agree with them. And that is something that I see a lot of Americans would not go along with. And so, in my position right now, and from my standpoint, I just want to let everybody know I'm in prayer because this is God's war. And if everybody could please remember that we're all humans and that we're all in this together. And unfortunately, we all have been raised to believe different things. And most of us to praise our creator, and some of us have a different idea of what our creator looks like. But I do know that God clears the chaos. And so, whether that means all of humanity, part of humanity, a piece of humanity, or war until others wake up, then I'm in it for the long haul. So just big love to you guys. Thanks for sharing information. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, the biggest enemy to America right now is the corporations that are turning upon and imploding upon its own people in America right now. And so manufacturing civil unrest is a deliberate strategy. And so you need to, the internal issues are way, way, way more important for America right now. The external issues are things that are going to distract you from the real enemy within, which is the corporations that are doing these things like profiting from open border policies followed by mass deportations in order to unveil Palantir on you, take away your rights, your freedoms, create an internal technocracy, and make sure that there is a command and control state in America, just like there is in UK and EU right now, because the American corporations don't care about the American people. Your enemy is internal, and they're trying to distract you from that.
One more thing I want to add on to that, Simon, is to remind everyone that AI is learning from us. And so if we are filling our feeds, if we are filling our thoughts, if we are filling all of our
And start
external
learning from these
data
Wahhabi
streams,
Arabs. They're
yes,
dumbasses.
we would definitely be teaching AI to continue to fight, and that there are threats and wars. And so please
Stop
try.
using our letters then.
Yes, please.
Guys, stop
I don't.
interrupting.
I've
I'm gonna
never
have to
used your
drop
letters
you.
before.
And speaks.
Guys, please, guys, she's literally about to wrap up, and you guys are like interrupting right now, which is insane to me. Let her finish. Let her land the plane, and then we'll go back to the debate. Sorry about that, Alt Mom. Go ahead. Could be a double mute there. Alt Mom.
Yeah, I'm
Sorry.
here.
Yeah.
So just in closing, please remember what it is that you're putting your attention towards. And even if you're knowledgeable in your areas of expertise, make sure that you're not canceling out the positivity that's in your life, and count your blessings. Hug your family. Good night, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just so you know,
Absolutely.
that Palantir technology, who's is currently being used to commit a genocide in Gaza, is being used to power up drones in Ukraine. It's being used by the Saudis within Saudi Arabia right now in order to. It's also being used by Israel, and it's also being used on borders, and it's also being used upon the American people. In fact, it's being used on all of us, and Elon Musk is ushering in data, and Peter Thiel is taking Jeffrey Epstein's money and pushing it through. So there is a common enemy, and that is what everybody should recognize. That technology is being used on all of us to pull together the biggest pile of data and a social credit score. And we do have a common enemy of centralization of data versus decentralization. So once we get through all these little tit for tats and recognize that we're actually humans in the same battle, but now let's get back to the minutia and realize that within the Middle East there are very different cultural battles. And let's get back to the debate between the Iran resistance versus the GCC's normalization model, and the differences in how people see it.
And guys, really quick before I hit that unmute button, I got some breaking news, some more breaking news. Iran's president to France. America attacked us. Would you just stand there? So the president of Iran, in a call with France's leader, says, America has attacked us. If you were in such a situation, what would you do? He added, naturally, they must receive retribution for their aggression. The message is clear. Tehran's not just angry; it is setting the stage. Absolutely, guys. So that's some comments from him. Some comments from Donald Trump just now. Donald Trump torches Republican Massey, Thomas Massey. He says he's not MAGA. He's a lightweight and he's a loser, is what Donald Trump is saying about Republican Representative Thomas Massey. He's saying Trump unloaded, mocking him as a grandstander. He said he ripped Massey for this is the typical Zionist thing. He doesn't like Thomas Massey because he's saying he'd rather side with those who chant death to America, which is absolutely false. And then Trump then praises the military's total and complete win. I think what he means to say is total and complete submission to Israel. And then he says, claiming they took the bomb right out of Iran's hands, and Massey still wasn't impressed, which is absolutely false. We just got reports from Iran that barely anything got striked. He says he warned that Massey will vote against his new tax bill and called for MAGA to drop this pathetic loser like the plague. Trump's also already backing a primary challenger along with AIPAC and promised to campaign in Kentucky himself. So it looks like he's now going to try to campaign backed by AIPAC against Thomas Massey in Kentucky. So we Americans must defend Thomas Massey as much as possible because he's probably the only real politician we have here. The rest are just clowns. So we have to definitely watch out for that breaking news. Also, another breaking news, UN Security Council to debate Iran strikes as Russia and China push for a ceasefire, which is insane, but it goes to show the double standards that even the UN has. The UN Security Council will meet Sunday after Iran demanded global condemnation of U.S. strikes on its nuclear sites. Russia, China, and Pakistan are pushing a draft resolution calling for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire in the Middle East. It seems like, oddly enough, it seems like they got a lot more urgency to get this solved than to get the genocide in Gaza solved. By the way, guys, we have 60 plus people in Gaza, Palestine, who have been killed since dawn by the Israel genocidal Zionist regime. So that's 60 people already since this morning. The Israel's literally committing a Holocaust while trying to act like the victim at the same time. This is stuff you also couldn't make up in a billion years. So that's other breaking news that just got out, is that there's still attacks going on against Gaza, Palestine, against the civilian population. Israel is still bombing them, all also being funded by the American taxpayer dollar. So that's the breaking news. We're going to go to Ahmed, back to the debate, guys. If you're liking the debate too, I'm getting a lot of comments, guys. A lot of people liking the debate. Hit that repost button, guys. If you're liking the breaking news, the debate, as you heard, Altmam also shared earlier some news. So, guys, make sure to share the space. You're getting a variety of everything in here. I think I see Altmom waving really quick. Let's go right back to her before we go to Ahmed. Oh, okay, never mind. She's waving goodbye. Let's go to Ahmed then. We're going right into the debate, guys. Let's get ready to rumble. So we're going to unmute right now. We're going to give Ahmed a few
All right.
minutes, a
All
couple
right.
minutes
Thank you.
to respond to Truth Teller. Go ahead.
All right, because a lot of people addressed me and I couldn't reply. Thank you. Just put a leash on that amigo, that's like Mexican kid. Anyway, so as I said, pretty much it's telling like pretty much the Gulf countries or any successful country that has a lot of oil, be like, you're just rich because of oil. It's like you go to a really famous, popular, strong, MMA fighter, be like, you're actually good at boxing because of your gloves. No, I used the gloves in a very good way and I fought and skills. Okay, so let's just say pretty much. Nigeria has over 36 billion barrels of oil, okay, and 200 trillion cubic feet of gas. Yet they have the country's living in poverty. Power cuts is a very normal thing. They don't have for 24 hours like pretty much electricity. So we 200 trillion cubic feet of gas. We don't even have that in the Gulf. You can combine it with Qatar. We don't have that yet. We're actually so much successful than Nigeria. It's because what? Because the Gulf countries has similar like pretty much natural wealth. But what made the difference is the leadership. We have wise leaders who didn't just pump oil and then they actually invested in it. They bought pretty much, they turned into education, infrastructure, healthcare, defense, innovation. They diversified the economy. Like the smallest country in pretty much the region, smallest Arab country, we have only 200,000 barrels of oil. That's it. It's like we have millions. No, 200,000 barrels. That's what we sell. The least of the world, to be honest. Yet we're very successful and we have free electricity and water. We pretty much have better. We pretty much have free college and free education, free healthcare. Something that only with 200,000 barrels of oil, and there's no gas, by the way, we still buy it from Saudi Arabia. Why is it successful? It's but the royal family, the guy in the picture, King Hamad, they actually invested it. When he took the office in 1999, only 600,000 people were living in Bahrain. Today is 1.5 million. The economy was only $2 billion. Today it's 9.1 billion. Why is that? Is it because of oil? Oil, 200,000 barrels cannot do much. So it's actually, while other wasted their wealth, we built skyscrapers out of the sand. We used our gases to power cities. We used our oil fields to global influence. It wasn't luck, but it was actually vision. It was actually, that's why the Gulf countries turned into deserts, pretty much to destinations. This is why you got pretty much, look, he's jealous is because like he's just a Mexican kid, okay? And the Mexicans towards the Americans are just like cheap labor, just like the Indians are to us. And this is why I joined up the space and this guy's like, you're a fucking kafir, you're an infidel, you're this, or you're that. We are all happy how fucking Iran is bombing the shit out of Israel. We made it very clear. You share the same group as us, and you post your shitty ass fucking tweets in the group. Yet you saw me and everyone else in the Sunni Arabs how happy we are. How Israel is getting bombed. It's because Israel is paying something they did to the Gazans, to the Palestinians, our brothers. And what is Iran paying for? For what they did to the Syrian Muslims. So I will never side with both because we're just lucky that Israel, we see them as just a bunch of mercenaries, are literally fighting our wars against Iran and Iran itself. He's saying pretty much like you have like the normalization with Israel. We have also Iran. We have relations with Iran as well. This is something the Iranians want to see, by the way. He's saying that we're puppets, Israelis, and to Netanyahu because we have relations, but that's just not realistic. We just have relations with Israel, just like we have with Iran. Although Israel never attacked me, and I have relations with them, why can't I say we are the puppets of Iran? Although Iran actually interfered in my country, tried to overthrow the country, and yet we actually normalized with them. You will never see an Iranian leader be like, "Oh, you see Bahrain, we fucked them over." Yet they
More
have
than
relations. Shut up!
more than
Why?
2
Shut up!
minutes.
You mute your mic. You uncivilized fucking Taco Bell.
More than 2
Shut
minutes.
up! That's none of your business. It's not your space. Come on. I'm sorry
All
that
right,
your cousin. I'm
Ahmed,
sorry that your cousin worked as a
let's do
farmer for
30
me, bro.
seconds.
Get over it. Okay.
Ahmed, 30 more seconds.
All right, go.
30
Good.
more seconds.
So pretty much, he also said that what did you guys do to the Ummah and all that? But like, let me just mention a few points. I'll mention a list of countries that we donated money to them and see if your country is one of them. All right? I'm sorry, bro. It is what it is. Saudi Arabia and the Gulf countries in globally, okay, over 111 billion in aid to pretty much over 80 nations, 2,700 to 27,000 projects, okay, in 90 countries from Yemen to Palestine to Pakistan, Sudan, and Mexico, and they gave homes, they built schools, okay. His country, name one thing what they did to Palestine. Zero, nothing.
Right.
So we spent 200 billion,
Time.
200 billion.
Time.
Shut up,
Ahmed,
it's none of your
Time.
business. You can't have.
Time.
Ahmed, no, it's time. It's actually time. You did hit the 30-second mark. We're gonna go to Truth Teller next. But guys, really quick before we go to Truth Teller, we got even more breaking news. Follow Soleiman's page for the breaking news. That's where I'm getting this from. We got the spokesperson for Iran's atomic energy says damages to Iran's nuclear facilities will quickly be repaired and rebuilt so that Iran's nuclear activity will continue with greater power. So this is interesting, guys. Interesting commentary from Iran. It looks like there was some damage there at the nuclear facilities. And then we got breaking news. We got Israel lights up Israeli Knesset with the U.S. flag. So it looks like Israel's loving the fact that the U.S. is being used as the cash cow, as the tool of Israel. They're loving it. Israeli officials also to the media says we will accept a ceasefire tomorrow if Iran announces that they want one. We do not want to enter into a war of attrition with Iran, but the possibility of Iran agreeing to enter into negotiations is slim, if not non-existent. So this is more fake news from the Zionist entity. We've seen that their ceasefires are non-existent because we saw how Hamas tried to do a ceasefire. They tried to do a ceasefire in Palestine multiple times, and Israel broke that agreement. Israel goes on to bomb even more and shoot kids in the head too. That's what Israel does. And then we even saw Israel do the same thing with Lebanon. They were requesting for a ceasefire. Lebanon agreed to the ceasefire. We saw Hezbollah agree to the ceasefire. And then what we saw next was Israel continue its bombing. So this is more fake news from the Western media claiming that Israel now seeks a ceasefire. This is absolutely false. We've seen what Israel's ceasefires look like. It looks like their own made-up rules, where they can make up the rules and they could change it left and right. So it's a fake news, but that's coming out right now too from the Western media end. That Israel's kind of low-key putting that out. I think when Israel does this, guys, from a military standpoint, they're testing the waters. That's what they're doing here. They're trying to see like how much damage did we do? Is the other side even considering a ceasefire right now? That's what they're testing here. That's the only thing they care about. They don't care about an actual agreement or actual peace being done here. So that's some breaking news, guys. If you want more breaking news, you want more debate, you guys want more topics, more live stages with more speakers, hit that repost button. Share this space as much as possible. This is the real news media. We are not hired by the fake stream media like some other spaces going on right now who are hired and advertised by the fake stream media. So make sure to hit that repost button, guys. I think who was next it was Truth Teller who was next. Let's go to Truth Teller
Can I
and
mention
then we'll
one
go
thing? 10
right
seconds,
after.
just one thing. So
Only if Truth Teller is okay with that. Truth.
No, I'm not. Rejected. And they got
Okay.
2 rounds, by the way. So, you went Ahmed and Hota back to back.
It wasn't
Anyway,
back to
I'll
back, but
start.
okay.
So, yeah, it was back to back, just like you faggots like it. Anyway, one's the bottom,
You,
the
you,
others
you
are.
would know
Anyway,
more
I'll
on that
start.
subject. Go ahead.
Can you mute these guys? Drop them if they interrupt again. Enforce the rules, please. I kept
oh
quiet, but
wow,
they
why
were
are you so
committing to
salty,
bullshit.
bro?
All right.
Oh, look at
Listen, guys. Let's stick on topic. That was actually funny as hell. All right, guys, let's stay on topic though, for real. Mike, back to Truth, no interruption. All right, starting now, I'm gonna start Truth Teller's time. He does get 2 rounds though because the Dr. Hotha is on Ahmed's side. So unless someone wants to jump on Truth Teller's side, Truth Teller does get 2 rounds. All right, so Truth Teller, go ahead.
Sure thing. So I put up a video in the Nest. You can see how Saudi Arabia went from being the poorest country in the world with no infrastructure, no roads, no electricity, no cars, no buildings, no nothing. They're living in tents. This wasn't like thousands of years ago. This is a few hundred years ago in the 17th century. They were ghetto, uncivilized, pathetic bottom feeders. until Europeans came and saved their ass from whatever it is that they wanted to be rescued from. These guys didn't know what civilization was. They were illiterate. They couldn't even read. They're talking about numbers. You guys didn't invent shit. Most of you guys were completely illiterate. Your countries were built for you. Oil was discovered for you. You wouldn't even know what to do with it. You fueled what? You were told what to do as consultants that came in and built your entire country without contractors like Booz Allen Hamilton and other American contractors. You have nothing. Okay, you're still living in tents. It was in fact your old king, King Faisal, who stood up and actually imposed no blockade. Who said that? It's like, you Americans,